Right. So today, first, we want to do a revision on software engineering and also finish your final topic and then do past papers, at least 2 years of past papers. That is our first priority. We are not at all hurry. We can add more extra classes if necessary rather than rush through. Okay. So that is the idea. Uh, right. So let's do a quick revision on software engineering, but I'll be going through your UCSC notes. And at the end, we want to do one or two past papers. Okay, one or two past papers. Uh, so we'll take one by one, the topic one, two, and so on. But we will do it faster. Okay, right. Then straight away we'll do a past paper. Right. So the introduction to software engineering. uh, so remember software development process. Software, first you need to understand software. It's a soft thing, right? We are using new technology. We have not developing software for very long. It's conceptual, okay? And of course, different type of software, generic system software versus application software, okay? And also software projects are different from other projects because other projects are mostly developing physical things, but we develop conceptual thing. Okay, so you need to understand those things. So system software versus app. Now I'm just more concentrating on your UCSC note rather than explaining you the process because I have explained you the process without binding to the UCSC note. System software versus application software. So the different type of system software like system management, system support, system development tools are also system software. Application software can be general software like word process, fish packages, or specific software like order processing system, inventory management system. And these are the different type of another classification like standalone, interactive, transactional, embedded, batch processing. Those are very loosely classification, right? Entertainment, right? And blah, blah, blah. Right. So it's very important to understand software cost is getting higher and higher, whereas hardware cost is getting lesser and lesser. Right. So cost of hardware curve is going down. The cost of software curve is going up because of the human labor cost. Human labor cost. Okay. And the failure curve, cost of failure curve for hardware, it's bathed up. We call it bathed up because of the wear and tear. Again, it goes up. But ideal software failure curve is not bathed up. Uh, it is something like this red one because software does not get wear and tear. Initially, yes, because it may not 100% tested, but it must be stabilized. But that is ideal. But actual curve is we tend to do changes. Every time you do change, there's a high chance of failure. Again, it's stabilized. We fix those issues. Another change, failure rate goes up. Again, stabilize. We fix it. So that is how uh, real software happens. And also it tend to go up again. Why? Because when we do more and more changes, the structure is degraded because those were not early anticipated earlier. Okay, so therefore it tend to go up also. While when you do a change, all of a sudden go up and come down, but in general also again failure rate goes up. So that is why at the end we need to decide, okay, let's discontinue this software and use a new one or do re-engineering. Okay. So just try to understand. Don't memorize these things in the slides, okay? So that doesn't work and it doesn't work also. Right. So when it comes to developing software, you need a lot of coordination. You need high skilled people, the correct selection of technologies, right? And also it's a long-term process, right? You need to interact with the customer, right? You need to understand the user expectations. So these are some problems. Users may have very unrealistic expectation, mythical man-month factor. So that means by doubling the resources, you can't cut down the time by half. That work for painting and that kind of things, right? Lack of communication. So those are all problems. Okay, so these are all problems. By the way, I have uploaded the highlighted note also to the Google Classroom because then you can concentrate more on the highlighted things. I uploaded only for the topic one and two. Okay, highlighted versions. Right. What are the features of good software? That means, of course, it must do the work, but additionally, non-functional requirements, maintainability, security, dependability, efficiency or performance, acceptability, user friendliness. So those are all other than delivering the required functionality, you need to make sure that these things are also met. We call them uh, non-functional requirements. Okay, so therefore, it's a lot of challenges there. So how do you face this challenge? We go for engineering discipline, right? Engineering discipline because engineers know how to handle complexity, analysis, design, development, testing, maintenance, and also we need to consider all aspects like managing as a project, business aspect. That is why we use agile approach. Okay, right. So what is software engineering? Basically, designing, building, maintaining systems in a engineering approach. Okay, engineering approach. It's a systematic approach, tried and tested approach for thousands of years by civil engineers, mechanical engineers. Okay, right. So then these are the key activities: specification, design, development, validation. Right, validation is testing, evolution. Okay, so some key challenges: heterogeneity in software development. There are many disciplines: testing, architecture, develop, database side, UI side. And business and social changes has created us more demands, right, to support new technologies, new lifestyles. Scalability is another important aspect, right, where we need to support thousands of users using our systems in some cases, and security, trust, and also the difference between system engineering and software engineering. So software engineering means focusing on software development process. System engineering is a broad one. It cover entire all approaches, including maintenance, deployments, okay, porting. It's hardware, network. All these things are covered in system engineering. Okay, but software engineering is focusing on the software development process. So software engineering is a subset of system engineering. Right. So web-based software engineering means actually we use more and more web-based tools, and also we develop more and more web-based applications, right? So like GitHub we use, uh, and sometimes we use web-based IDEs, web-based build tools, and so on. Okay. Right. So then ethics are also important because there are two aspects when it comes to ethics as a software engineer. So ethics in project management, that is between project manager and the team. Project manager must make sure that the team is not overworked or do unethical things, and also interacting with the customer. So we must interact with the customer ethically. We must deliver what we have promised. We must not hide any bugs and so on. Right. So we must be very honest. Okay. And also as a software engineer, you must be ethical person so that you are competent. You do whatever you assign to you. And if there are issues, you escalate it rather than keeping it secret. So those are the expectations because some people tend to behave like that. Keep things secrets. No, that is not ethical way to do. Okay. Right. Confidentiality, competency, intellectual property rights. Do not use misuse. Do not use pirated software and so on. Okay. Right. So make sure you remember these 8 points because sometimes examiners ask that kind of questions because these are the IEEE code of ethics. So sometimes they can ask what are the maybe whether it's a part of the code of ethics or not. Okay. Right. So ethical dilemma means sometimes we are in dilemma situations, ugato right? So if you do this, it's unethical in aspect A. If you do that, it is unethical in aspect Y or aspect B. So that is called ethical dilemma. So that means if you if the project manager asks the team to work weekend, it is bit of unethical for the team. But if you don't do that, we need to delay the release. That is unethical for the business customer. So those are called ethical dilemma. Okay. Right. So now we'll move to topic two. Right, we will do this a little bit faster. Software process. Right. So when we develop software, we follow a particular process. Right. So in general, these are the tasks: specification, design, development, validation, implementation, evolution. Right. Validation means testing. Right. So the process involves what are the products, what are the roles that different people play, and what are the precondition and post conditions of different activities. Okay. So there are two approaches: plan-driven approach, that is sequential waterfall approach, uh, and agile process, where we are more into the iterative. Uh, Rather than you plan upfront, you do just enough planning or iterative planning. Okay, agile process. Right, waterfall, incremental development, so that is iterative. Then there's another one called reuse oriented, that is heavily depends on software reuse, so assembling software components. Okay, but in general, we use combination of this. Okay, so waterfall is more sequential traditional approach. You must know the pros and cons, right, of waterfall approach. So the long delay is the main issue and high risk because customer cannot give feedback until end. Okay, so those are the drawbacks, and also difficult to absorb changes because we finish requirement analysis. But when it comes to incremental development or iterative, we iteratively deliver to the customer, right? Releases so that customer can give early feedback. It reduces the risk. Customer can get early competitive advantage. Okay, so those are the all positive things in incremental or iterative development. But at the same time, it adds complexity, project management complexity. It's more overhead for software developers. Sometimes customers will not like to get partial systems; they want the full system, right? So likewise, there are issues, practical problems also. Okay. Right. So the reuse-oriented software engineering means try to use as much as possible reusable components and assemble those. Right. That is a new approach, but it's evolving approach. Uh, we can create the reusable components, or we can try out reusable components from third parties as well, and maybe mixture of both. Right. So these are the process stages for reuse-oriented development. Anyway, you need to do the requirement specification, requirement understanding the requirements. So then we can do software discovery and evaluation. That is, we are looking for existing components, either our own components or external components. So we need to evaluate and see whether those are going to fit our requirements. So then requirement refinement. Why? Now we have identified some components, internal or external. So these components are already developed, right? So therefore, may not 100% fit onto our requirements. So then we need to alter some of our requirements. So we need to be a little bit flexible, right? Altering our requirements because sometimes we can't change the components. That is called requirement refinement. And then we can assemble those components, and missing components we need to develop and configure as a software. Okay, configure as software and deploy it. You will learn about this in more details when you are in semester 4, because you have the enterprise application development. So there you will learn how these components are developed, like enterprise Java beans, web services, and so on. Okay, right. So then we can adapt and integrate. Right. So these are the different activities like software specification. Sometimes we call it requirement engineering, right? So requirement elicitation and analysis, that is requirement gathering and analyze, requirement specific modeling and specification, and also we need to validate, give our model, our requirement analysis model to the customer and validate, because if we make a mistake here, it's a very costly mistake. So then design, implementation, okay. Right, so design involve high-level architectural design, then low-level designs include different aspects, interface designs, that is user interface and system interfaces, database designs, okay, uh, and other program flow designs and so on, okay. right? So the validation is basically testing, right? Validation is testing. So we do two, verification and validation. So verification means reviews. It's a proactive thing. It's quality assurance things. Validation is testing. That is uh, quality control task, right? Validation. So verification, preventive thing. Validation, corrective. Okay. So walkthroughs, inspection, reviews are verification. Testing is validation. So different type of testing like unit testing or component testing, system testing, and finally user acceptance testing. And of course, there are some other testings also like usability testings, uh, performance testings, regression testings, and so on, right? So these are the three main. Right. So remember, throughout the software development, we need to cope with changes because changes are inevitable in modern environment. So our task is anticipate changes and manage changes. That is what we are supposed to do. So how do we anticipate changes? That is why we go for more and more iterative and agile approaches because we can absorb changes. So then we need to manage it. So you can't blindly accept changes. You need to evaluate the change impact. Then you need to update our requirements and so on, and then develop and also plan out in which release we are going to do this change, and then do it right. So yes, we accept, but we do it in a very systematic way. Okay. So change anticipation, and also we need to tolerate changes. So that is one of the reason why we go for the agile. Okay. Right, prototyping is another important aspect where we can reduce the uncertainty and also we can explore requirements, verify, validate requirements, and also we can explore new solutions, right? Uh, by creating prototypes. And also it's a very good way of showing the customer the early look and feel of the software. So many advantages of prototyping. So remember, we can either go for throwaway prototyping or evolutionary prototyping. Okay. So prototyping can be part of the incremental delivery also. Maybe initially we deliver prototypes, but after some time we are delivering the real releases. Okay. Right. So the process improvement. So remember, we need to improve everything. Otherwise, we will lose our competitiveness in our as a software development team. So there are two approaches. One approach is the formal approach. We call it process maturity approach, where we do audits, formal evaluation of the process, and so on. That is the old approach, right? So people come and audit and see what is your process, and they recommend improvements. So that is what capability maturity matrix CMMI model is. But in agile approach, process improvement is our own internal job, right? That is why we have in agile development uh, retrospective at the end of each release. So we improve our process continuously rather than let outsiders come and audit our process. So agile approach is the newer approach. Okay. So whether it's old approach or new approach, this is the overall process. Measure the process, performance, uh, sorry, analyze your measurements and change or improve. So then again, measure. In agile development, we do this at the end of each iteration, maybe at the end of each 3 months. But in other approaches, we do it maybe after every 6 months or something like that. Okay. So process measurement, analyze those measurements, and do improvements or changes. Okay. Right. So this is the traditional approach where external auditors come and uh, rate your organization's process. Right? Level 1, level 2, level 3, higher the level, better. So this is very important slide. Initial, manage, that means your process is well managed, your process is now well defined, much matured, and quantitatively manage, that is better than qualitatively manage because you have all the measurements. And optimizing means your process is better than most of the industrial leaders' process. Okay, right. So that's the topic 2. Okay, that's topic 2. Right. So now we'll move on to topic 3. So I'm just giving a quick revision so that we can do the past paper questions faster. Right. Remember, the new approach of software development is agile development, because waterfall approach is not suitable for software development anymore, because the environment is so dynamic. So the demands are very high. We need to absorb changes. We need to reduce risk. Customers need early competitive advantage, and so on. So therefore, we go for more and more agile development rather than this unrealistic waterfall approach. Okay. So where we can give rapidly deliver software. In competition, we need to do it fast. Okay, we need to do it fast, and also we need to absorb changes. So remember, agile development is based on two things: agile philosophy, agile methods. Right. So remember, agile development was first built based on agile manifesto. Set of software engineers in USA agreed on 4 principles. What are those 4 principles? Customer collaboration over contract negotiation, individual interactions over process and tools, responding to changes over following a plan, working software over doc, uh, documentation. So we are more focusing on collaboration rather than contracts, more interested in individual interaction rather than heavy processes, more interested in changes, responding to changes rather than following a hard and fast plan, because these are impossible in modern world. And our main focus is software, not giving that document, that this document bullshits. Okay, because that is all way. I told you that even in the final year project, most of the students are interested in documents. They, because they can't develop the software. When they can't develop the software, they keep working on documents. Right? So because they අර අපි කියන්නේ නිකන් අර සොයන් ආතල් එකක් ගන්නවා කියන්නේ නේද? ඩොකියුමන්ට් හදා දින්නා මම software එක develop කරනවා කියලා හිතේද. නමුත් ඇත්තටම software එකක් කරපු දෙයක් නෑ අන්තිමට. So in agile development, we focus on software, not different documents and waste in time. Okay, so that is called agile manifesto. So then there are agile principles, concept like simplicity, leanness, openness, right? Low ceremony, and so on. Okay, so those are all agile philosophy, right? Agile philosophy, customer focus, not we develop what we like, rather we develop what the customer need. So then there are different agile development approaches. Like most popular is now Scrum-based development, but we had something like extreme programming, Kanban, Lean, uh, right? Feature development, dynamic system development methodology, DSDM. So those are all uh, agile approaches. But right now, the most popular is Scrum-based development. Okay, right. So agile development is also iterative or evolutionary, right? Iterative or evolutionary. But rather than we rely on upfront planning, we do upfront high-level planning and refine the plan. Refine the plan. When we have more and more visibility, it doesn't mean that we don't do any planning. We do planning, but only high-level planning, not too much planned. Okay. At the same time, there are difficulties because it's little bit more difficult to manage, and we need new way of managing the team because it's very rapid development. Okay, and we need very competent, self-motivated uh, engineers coming to the project to do agile development, because they must be very responsible, independent people, rather than project managers manage them like uh, right donkeys. Okay. Right. So as I told you, these are the methods. Extreme programming. Some practices came from extreme programming. So those are now absorbed to the Scrum based approach. The concept like user stories, product backlog, okay, and so on. Pair programming. Okay. The user story is a very simple way of writing user requirements, right? In the specific format as a project, as a uh, say inventory clerk, I want to release products so that the manufacturing process continues, something like that. Okay. So user stories are basically functional requirements. Okay. But written in a very informal, simple way. Because we are going to develop and release it in maybe next few weeks. And we are not interested in documentation. We are interested in developing. And simple design, right? We go for simple. Simplicity is one of the highlights of Agile. Lot of focus on test-driven programming. We even write first unit tests and then develop the test system. Okay. Continuous improvement, continuously refactor to make it better. Okay. Because agile development assume that we can't develop the best at the upfront. So therefore, we develop it and then keep improving. That is more realistic. Okay. Refactor. Do pair programming. Okay. So two programmers will sit together and develop because software development is too difficult for one person. When you have two equally capable person, they come up with better ideas, better designs, and stress is less. But of course, this is not much practically used, right? In this sense, it's used in a different way. So different way means actually developers help each other frequently. That is the idea behind pair programming. Okay. Because you need help from others and others need your help. Because sometimes you are blind to your mistakes. Okay. So that is why you have the pros and cons. At collective ownership. So there's nothing called this is my module. I only work on this module. No, this is our product. Anyone can work on any module. Okay. So then you must be very disciplined. You must follow coding standards, right? Best practices. Otherwise, others will find it difficult to change your code. Okay. Then it's a maintainable code. Continuously integrate your changes to the main build so that we can give releases. Okay. And also don't overwork. Sustainable piece. දරා ගන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රමාණයට විතරයි වැඩ කරන්න. හරි. An on-site customer. So customer must be in your team, part of the team. Ideally from customer side. But if you can't find, oh, then you can assign one of the team member, which is not very good practice, but that team member must very closely work with the customer. So that team member then represent the customer. But ideally, that on-site customer means an end user or part from the customer side, someone must be in your team, maybe online or whatever. Right? Follow coding standards because otherwise, how can you get the collective ownership? Okay. Right. So those are all came from XP approach. So now these good practices are pretty much absorbed by Scrum-based development. Okay. Scrum-based development. So in Scrum-based development, it's more lightweight than extreme programming, XP. So therefore, it's much better. So there are only three roles: product owner, the team, or the developers, and the Scrum Master. The artifacts are product backlog, sprint backlog, your burn down charts, Kanban charts, and the product increment. So the activities are product grooming, sprint meeting, right? Sprint planning meeting, daily scrum, and sprint review and sprint retrospective. Right. I have explained you these things in detail, so therefore I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining you these. Right. I just skip this because I gave you very good understanding about sprint agile development. Okay. Then of course agile development also has challenges. Like sometimes the customers are not collaborating enough. Right. The team members are not aware of agile principles. They think in very conventional way and they need a lot of guidance. But in agile development, we expect that the team members are very highly professional, independent, self-disciplined, self-motivated. Okay. And also agile development is not the ideal to develop very complicated big system, because agile development assume that we have two small teams like 6 to 8. So then either you need to go for some other approach or you need to go for something called Scrum or Scrums. So sub teams develop different part of the product. Okay. Right. So that is your topic number 3. Uh, then requirement engineering. It's all about, remember, gather requirement, analyze requirements, model requirement, of course, then document and verify requirements. Okay. So if you make a mistake here, it's very costly mistake. Okay. And also, what are the different type of requirements? Functional requirements, non-functional requirements, and other requirements. Other requirements are something related to management and policies. Okay. Non-functional requirements are uh, security, performance, maintainability kind of requirements. Okay. How to connect software development and I can't understand your question. How to connect software development and agile? So agile, if you explain your question, I can answer, because
Sir,
Scrum is,
I mean, the idea of developing a uh, uh, software in real world,
yes.
how to match up those goals with what we discussed earlier. I mean, the
So that means
agile methodology.
so what I explain is how you tackle software development. So basically, we in agile development we go for simplicity. So that means we always think the simplest solutions, not the complicated solutions. So in agile development, we value leanness. So that means we don't go for heavy processes, right? So, long plannings, long meetings, and so on. So we try to make things very short and sweet. So that is the philosophy, right? And also we don't do too many planning at the beginning, right? So we just have the high level planning and
Okay,
start
sir.
development, right? And so then we have a detailed plan for the current iteration, and each day's plan is done at the each day. So likewise, it's a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking, and also we always think from customers' point of view. Rather than we develop what we like, we try to
Okay, sir.
exact the customer's requirements and develop what they want. Right. For example, in final year project also, a lot of students, so they develop what they like, right? But they like, actually they don't. Sometimes they don't have a customer. Sometimes they lie us saying that they have a customer, but we know that actually they don't have a customer. So that is they develop what they like. But in reality, it's an industry. You can't develop what you like, right? Of course, if you are someone like Mark Zuckerberg, you can do it. You develop what you like and you market it. But in reality, we need to develop what the customer need. So that kind of thinking is there. So then agile approach, we have the, rather than project manager, we have the scrum master, product owner. So it's a different way of thinking. They are highly competent, self-motivated, professional people can develop software in that way. In that way. So, okay. But you can't apply that if you are a very traditional person who need a lot of guidance, control from by others. So it's that is why in modern software development we are looking for self-motivated, competent developers so that they can fit into the agile development. Okay, so that means when you are assigned a particular task, you take that full responsibility and do it. You are fast learner, and also you help others, collaborate with others. You don't just concentrate with your task. You always want to see that the team's objectives are met. So that kind of a, it's a different culture. It's a different culture. It's a different way of working. You know that the different countries have different cultures, right? It's like that. So the way Western people
Yes,
think
sir.
and act is not the way Sri Lankan people thinks, and that is not the way African people thinks, and that is not the way Middle East people think, and that is not the way Chinese people think. So this is a new way of thinking, and actually this is more into the Western culture, agile approach, because give them more independence, give them more responsibilities rather than controlling them. So that is what exactly Western culture is. So that is why agile management is part of the modern Western culture, agile philosophy. It's not only for software development, everywhere, management, business, software development, everywhere. But the unfortunate thing is, some others find it difficult to catch up with that culture because their culture is different. Right? Their culture is different, their thinking is different. Okay, right. So when it comes to requirements, of course, as I told you, the requirements is something that keep changing. So we need to accept that, and at the same time, we need to capture all the requirements and make sure you convert those requirements into deliverables. Okay, so user requirements. Uh, so these are different classifications. Okay, user requirements, system requirements, then the functional versus non-functional requirements. Okay, so who are the project stakeholders? Anyone interested or involved? Right? Anyone interested or involved? Uh, right. So those things I am not going to. This is functional versus non-functional classification, which I'm not going to go it through again. Right. This is a classification of non-functional requirements, product-related non-functional requirements, organizational-related non-functional requirements, and external non-functional requirements like external policies, external rules, regulations. Okay, so you need to comply. Right. So these are some of the non-functional requirements. Right. Requirement engineering process, requirement elicitation and analysis, requirement specification, that is modeling, and requirement validation. Right. ඒක මම ආයෙ explain කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. Right. Different way of gathering requirements. ඒවා ඉතින් ඔළුවේ තියෙනවනේ දැන්. How to model නේද? මේකදී අහනවා use case diagrams අහනවා, class diagram අහනවා, activity diagrams අහනවා. මම කිව්වේ semester 2, semester 3 notes ටික ඔයාලට දුන්නේ ඒකනේ. Right. Uh, right. Use case diagrams වල තියෙන actor inheritance, what is uh, include relationship, what is extend relationship. Okay, right. So this is extend relationship, that is optional behavior. Include mandatory behavior, right? I have given you the semester 3 notes, right? Separately shared in the Google Classroom. Right. So then the documentation. Document your models, and we call it software requirement specification in conventional sense. Okay, may conventional in the software development එක ආයි කතා කරන්නේ agile, right? And requirement validation, show the your requirement specification to the customer, and sometimes you need to get it signed, right? Legally. Right. So these are the review checks. Okay. Right. So then of course change requirements. Right. So those are normal in date. So when you get a requirement change, don't just start designing and developing. First modify your requirement documents and then do the modification and release. Okay. So that is another famous question in your exams. And change management is or we call it configuration management. It's a formal process where you assess the change. Uh, Sometimes you need to modify the cost, schedule, right? And then plan out for the releases and then accept the change and do it. Okay? Right. So that is your topic 3. Sorry, topic 4. Then system modeling. That is a small topic. So system modeling is done during requirement analysis, that is modeling the requirements, and during design, that is modeling the new proposed solution. Okay. So we can use UML if it is object-oriented approach. Otherwise, we can use data flow diagrams, context diagrams, ER diagrams, and so on. Right. We can model different perspectives or different aspects using different models. Like, for example, process, use case diagram, data, maybe ER diagram, and likewise. Okay. And so these are different diagrams. So you must be familiar with these diagrams. So context models are give you the big picture of the system. Mostly used in structured system analysis, but you can use it in object-oriented also. Show the big picture. So then the process perspective, earlier we used data flow diagrams, but in object-oriented, we mostly use activity diagrams. What are the sub-activities and flow of sub-activities, some parallel sub-activities, conditional things either go this way or that way, right? And so on. Right. So then the interaction models include sequence diagrams, communication diagrams. Of course, use case modeling is also there. Okay. So this is sequence diagram, message passing, okay. And structural models mostly class diagram. How this is more in designing, how the system is structured. So what are the key relationships, associations, uh, inheritance, composition, and aggregation. Okay, so association means one object can call the behavior of the other object, one to one, one to many, many to many. It can be unidirectional, bidirectional. So then generalization, that is inheritance. Okay. Aggregation, that is whole part, but part is optional. Okay. Sorry, whole is optional. Aggregation, not shaded. Okay. But if it is composition, uh, we shade it, then part cannot exist without the whole. Like faculty cannot exist without the university. But tire can exist without vehicle. So then tire to vehicle is aggregation, faculty and university is composition. Okay. So those are strong associations. Right. So then other modeling like data-driven modeling, event-driven modeling, it depends on the type of software. State machines, if a particular object going through different states, we call them state diagrams. මේවා ඔක්කොම semester 3 notes set එකේ තියෙනවා හරි. මම වෙනම share කරලා තියෙන්නේ Google Classroom එකේ. Right. So this is a very important part for your exam. Examiner is really crazy about model-driven engineering. Okay. In almost every year. So model-driven engineering means we analyze and design and develop with lot of focus on modeling. Okay, so that is called model driven engineering. Okay, so you must know the types of model. This is super critical for your exams. Computation independent model, that means those are used to model abstract level, your requirements and designs at very abstract level, technology independent level, right? Domain abstraction. Then platform independent model means it's like class diagram where you have not bound to a platform yet, but it's bit of technical, but not specific to a technology. Okay, not specific to a platform. So then platform specific model means now you have decided the platform. Maybe you have decided, right, we are going to use .NET. We are going to use Java, J2EE. Right. So then we are using the concepts like enterprise Java beans and blah, blah, blah. If it is J2EE, or maybe web services. So then it's platform specific model. So it's very important, computation independent, platform independent, platform specific. Okay. And we go through this cycle. So this is a very important diagram for your exam. Right. Very, very important diagram. Right. Computation independent model and domain specific guidelines. We create the platform independent model. From platform independent model, we create the platform specific model. From platform specific model, we can create the execute code. So that the idea is use as much as possible tools, convert these things, right? So that is now getting more and more realistic with AI, right? More and more realistic with AI. So ultimately, we must be able to generate the code, but you can't just generate code from requirements. You need to guide the tools, right? Guide the tools. There's a question which means fit into agile development environment. We need to know software development and cloud services. Like, no, there's nothing, there's no connection between cloud services and agile development. Agile development is way of thinking. Agile development has nothing to do with the technologies. Agile development is how, it's a philosophy. How you look at software development and also life, right? So therefore, there's nothing says that if you move on to the agile development approach, you must use cloud services. No, nothing like that. Even you can use agile approach to develop a very simple software, but you always look at the simplicity, uh, leanness, okay, customer orientation, continuous improvement, right? High band communication, right? Collaboration with customer. So if you have that approach, even very simple software you can develop like that. And incremental delivery. Okay. So agile is that is why your note also say agile is sort of a management framework, project management framework. Right. We can use agile in even business management, right? Business management. So that is why, for example, when you go to Sampath Bank or maybe HSBC, so you can see there's a different in their culture, right? If you go to something like Unilever, it's different from, right, the culture of People's Bank, Bank of Ceylon, right? සතොසකට ගිහිල්ලා බලන්න සතොස ඇතුලේ තියෙන කල්චර් එකද ගිහිල්ලා බලන්න ඔයා පොඩ්ඩක් ස්පා වගේ සුපර් මාකට් එකකට ගිහිල්ලා බලන්න සතොසකට යනකොට හරි හැමතිස් දැන් නැත්නම් කීල්ස් ඒ කියන්නේ මම මේ ක්‍රිටිසයිස් කරනවා නෙමෙයි ඒ එන මිනිස්සු අනුව ඒගොල්ලන්ට එහෙම හැසිරෙන්න වෙනවා දැන් උදාහරණයක් මේ කොළඹවට තියෙන කීල්ස් ඔක්කොගෙම දැන් සෙල්ෆ් අපිට චෙක් අවුට් කරන්න පුළුවන් කැෂියර් කෙනෙක් ඕනේ අපි අයිටම්ස් ටික ස්වයිප් කරනවා ඒගොල්ලෝ අපි ට්‍රස්ට් කරනවා අපි එකක්වත් ස්වයිප් නොකර ඉන්නේ නැහැ කියලා හරි ඊට පස්සේ අපි කාඩ් එකෙන් ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ් එක ස්වයිප් කරනවා ගාන කැපෙනවා අපි බඩු ටික දාගන්නවා ගෙදර යනවා මම දැන් අපේ ගෙවල් අවුල තියෙන ඔක්කොම කීල්ස් වල දැන් ඒක දාලා තියෙනවා හරි ඒතර අපිම ගිහලා සමහරට කිලා ගන්නවා මොකද ඒක ඇඳලා තියෙනවානේ අඹුල් කේල්ද අරවද මේවද කියලා ඒතර කවුරුත් ඇවිල්ලා අරගොල්ලෝ ඇවිල්ලා බලන්නේ නැහැ මේ ඔයා හරියට කරනවද කියලා so that is a trust හැබැයි ඒකට හරියන සෙට් එකක් ඉන්න ඕනේ එතන මිනිස්සු ඉන්න ඕනේ මිනිස්සු ඉන්න ඕනේ හරි ඒ ස්පාසුව මාකට් වලට එහෙම ගියාම අපි කනවා කාලේ ඉවරලා අපි බිල් එක ඉල්ලලා යනවා. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ට මතක නැහැ අපි කෑවේ මොනවද මතකත් නැහැ. හරි. ඒගොල්ලෝ මේ වෙන තැන් වලට ගියාම ඉස්සෙල්ලා බිල දීලා සල්ලි ගෙවුවට පස්සේ තමයි කන්න දෙන්නේ. නේද? කෑම එක දෙන්නේ. අරවයි අපි කාලේ ඉවරලා අපි යනකොට බිල ගෙවලා යනවා. So that is the trust. ඒක තමයි කිව්ව අර contractual obligations වලට යන්නේ නැතුව trust කරන්න customer. හරි customer trust කරන්න කියලා. හරි. ඉතින් ඔක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ හරියට දැන් උදාහරණයක් my first job was with IFS. IFS is a Sweden-based company, 100% Sweden-based company, right? So that culture is completely different culture, right? So they trust software engineers. They trust software engineers. No one manage us. So we manage ourselves. So they give us the uh, independence because that is their culture. ඔය culture ඒක ඔයා ගිහිල්ලාම තමයි විඳින්න ඕන. නේද? ඔයාට ඒක තේරෙයි. මම කිව්ව නිකමට බලන්න. HSBC බැංක් එකකට යන්න, ලංකා බැංකුවට යන්න, ඊළඟට කීල් සුපර් එකට යන්න, තව සුපර් මාකට් එකකට යන්න, සතොසට යන්න ඔයාට තේරෙයි මේ කල්චර්ස් දෙක වෙනස් කියලා. එක කට්ටියක් ට්‍රස්ට් කරනවා. කස්ටමර්ගේ පැත්තෙන් බලන්න. අනිත් කට්ටිය heavy process follow කරනවා. හරි. Those are the two different things. Okay. Right. Right. So that's it about that topic. So then we'll move on to our next topic. Right. So these are fresh topic, right? අපි ළඟදී කරේ එකක් අපිට ලොකුවට මුකුත් කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. Right. Architectural design. So remember, first we need to do the high level design, architectural design. Then we can design the different aspects in detail, like UI design, database design, and program designs. Okay. So remember, architectural design is abstraction. This is the most important design because if you don't make it proper designing, then it will not be scalable, maintainable, right? And so many difficulties will be there. Okay. Right, so we can use box and line diagrams and so on to represent abstraction at high level, and you need to identify the components, whether it's a 3T architecture, 4T architecture, is it client server architecture, is it peer-to-peer, right? So those are the decisions you need to take, and also you need to think about the performance, security, because those are bound to your architecture. You can't change those things later. If you do not come up with the proper architecture, then those security, performance things you can't fix later. That is why you need to think about those upfront. Okay. So select the right architecture, the best architecture, your product. Okay. So these are different views: logical view, physical view, process view, development view, looking at the architecture different ways. And also we discuss the architectural patterns like MVC pattern. Okay. Layered architecture like the OSI architecture that we use to understand computer networks, repository architecture. So basically the YouTube is based on repository architecture, right? You based on the central repository. A lot of CMS systems are based on repository architecture, content management systems. Okay. Of course, the client server architecture, pipe and filter architecture, where gradually your data is getting processed like microservices. Okay, functionality transformation process, right? It's a sequential model, right? So these are different type of applications: data processing, transaction processing, event processing, language processing. It's a very informal classification. Okay, but examiner can ask. Okay, right? This is another question the examiner has asked over and over. Compiler components. So when you compile a code from high level language to low level, like uh, generation 2 language. Okay. So these are the different components: lexical analyzer, symbol table, syntax analyzer. That is how you get the syntax errors when you compile. And the syntax tree, semantic analyzer, code generators, and so on. Okay. So that generate the abstract machine code, like the low level code. Okay. Right. මොකද මේ කෙලින්ම software engineering සම්බන්ධ නැතුණාට examiner එකේ favorite එකක් මේක. හරි. මොකද pass papers කරනකොට අහු වෙන examiner එකේ favorite areas. හරි. Right. So then design and implementation. අපි pass paper එක ටක් ගාලා කරන්න පුළුවන්. හරි. Right. So remember, why you want to design and develop complex things, you have to design and develop. Simple things you can straight away develop. Right. Simple as that. Simple things design and develop. Complex things design and develop. Simple things straight away develop. අපටම බදිනවා අපට design කරන්න නැහැ. හැබැයි wedding cake එක design කරන්න. හරි. And here we have the build and buy option also. Okay. Right. So these are high level interactions, interaction designs, like modules, how these modules are integrated, package diagrams, right? Modules, submodules, right? Then of course, when you go low level, it is classes and their interactions like associations, inheritance hierarchies. So these are some modeling, designing models like sequence diagram, how objects interact with other objects, interact with the associated objects, or message passing for doing something. Okay, it's remember in object oriented, functionality is achieved by objects collaborating and communicating with other objects. One object is not doing everything. One object will get some help from other objects. How? Calling a behavior. Oops, we call it passing message. So then that object will will does that and give you the control back. Then maybe you call another object. So at the end, the functionality is done. අපි ඔය කතා කරා semester 1 වල in detail. අද semester 1 වල සෑහෙන කාලයක් අරගෙන programming කරේ ඒකට තමයි. Right? State diagrams. So some objects going through state transitions like order. Order is new. Order is now uh, created. Order is now checkout. Order is paid. Order is now uh, dispatch. Or maybe before that, order is cancelled. Right? State transitions. හරි ඕගොල්ලෝ Uber එකකින් වගේ මොන හරි ඕඩර් එකක් දාලා තියෙනවා නම් ෆුඩ් ඕඩර් එකක් එහෙම ගන්න පේනවා. ඕඩර් එක ඇක්සෙප්ට් ඉස්සෙල්ලම තියෙනවා මුකුත් නැහැ මෙතන. ඊට පස්සේ ඔන්න accepted කියලා එනවා. ඊට පස්සේ කියනවා හරි order is ready. දැන් ඔන්න partner ඇවිල්ලා pick කරන්න ඕන. ඊට පස්සේ order එක යනවා pick. දැන් order එක pick කරලා තියෙන්නේ. හරි. දැන් ඉස්සෙල්ලම order එක new ඊට පස්සේ order එක accepted. accepted දැන් හදනවා cam. So then order is ready. හැබැයි තාම කාවත් assign කරේ නැහැ rider කෙනෙක්ව. So then rider is on the way. So then it moves to rider is has pick it. දැන් ඊට පස්සේ order එක complete කරනවා. ඔයාට කෑම ගෙනල්ලා දුන්නා. So that is order going through states. හරි. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැකලා සමහරට ඔයගොල්ලෝ use කරන අය දන්නවා. සමහරට අපි diagram එකක් කරන් බලමු. ඒක ඒ වගේ major objects තමයි මේ transition වලට යන්නේ. So always think practically. Okay? Practical situations. ඔයගොල්ලෝ සුපර් මාකට් එකට ගියත් පොඩ්ඩක් software එකට ඔළුව දාලා බලන්න ඕනේ හැබැයි ආ. සුපර් මාකට් එකට ගියත් මොකද්ද තියෙන software එක web based හරි. මේක කෙලින්ම diagram එකක් දාලා නැහැ මේගොල්ලෝ. හරි මෙයා මෙතන ස්ටේට් එක පෙන්නනවා මොකද්ද ස්ටේට් එක යනවා යන විදිය ඉස්සරහට. හරි. ඊට පස්සේ ඔයාලට පේනවා අරය අරගෙන යනවා දැන්. හරි. අරය අරගෙන එන්න කලිනුත් ඔයාලට පේන්න පටන් ගන්නවා දැන් එයා එතන අවුට්ලට් එකට යනවා කියලා. හරි. So that is very important that gives you the trust. මේ වගේ කෑම එකක් ගේන්නේ. එතකොට අපිට හරි සැකයි මේ කෑම එකට මොනවා හරි කරයිද? ඒ සැක නැති කරන්න තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ ඔක්කොම කරලා විසිබිලිටි එක දෙන්නේ. හරි. පීසා එකක් ඕඩර් කරත් පීසා හට් එකෙන් ඔයාලට විසිබිලිටි එක දෙනවා නේද? දැන් පීසා එක පිච්චෙනවා කියලා කියනවා. හරි පීසා එක දැන් ඕඩර් කරා පීස් එක රෙඩි ඔන්න දැන් පීස් එක අපේ ඩිලිවරි පාර්ට්නර් අරන් එනවා so that is state transition diagrams හරි ඒ state diagrams වල අනුව තමයි ඊට පස්සේ අර UI එක හදන්නේ so this is for major objects okay right so this is for a weather station right so then we discuss about design patterns right so very recently we did that so reusable solution for commonly occurring problems right reusable solutions for commonly occurring problems like observer patterns factory patterns adapter patterns strategy patterns I asked you to learn at least one or two patterns by your own because now you know programming so pattern has the problem the solution design, the class diagram, and code. Code can be from Java, C++, Python, any language. Okay. Right. Open source development is we use a lot of open source software, right? MySQL, Linux. Right. So then software testing we discussed only last class. Maybe class in කතා කරේ. ඒක ඉතින් රිවිෂන් කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ නේද? මතක ඇතිනේ ගිය සතියේට කලින් සතියේද ඔය කතා කරේ. So what is testing? What is the difference between validation and verification? Okay, what are the different right validation and verification? V&V model. So if you do good verification, you have lesser work in validation. Okay. And there is a lot of reviews, lead reviews, peer reviews, following coding standards. Right. So then different type of testing like development testing or unit testing. Right. We can automate unit testing using JUnit, TestNG, and so on. Those things you will learn in quality assurance subject in final year. Right. So what is mean by partition testing? Right. Identifying different ranges. Right. Guideline based testings. Okay. What is mean by equivalent partitioning? Right. We discussed this last class. Okay. Right. General testing guidelines, component testing or the unit testing. Then interface testing, another white box or glass box testing. Test the interfaces, whether interfaces are properly designed. Right. So then, of course, the system testing, stress testing, uh, usability testing, and so on. Okay, system testing. Right. Test-driven development means when you develop software, we give a lot of attention to testing, especially unit testing. So this is one of the aspect of agile development. Right. Test-driven programming. First, you write the unit test, then you write the code. Initially, the unit test fail, but ultimately unit test must pass. Okay, so that is called test-driven programming. Who designs the state diagram? So the developers in agile development, everyone is a designer, everyone is a developer. So that is what is mean by uh, full stack development. So the new now most of the time when you hire a software engineer, we expect that he can take the user story and convert it into functionality. That is the new expectation. Okay, new expectation. So full stack development. So that means you can't be a full stack developer initially, right? Maybe after 1 year, 2 year, you will be a full stack developer. මොකද අපිත් එක්ක හිටපු ස්ටුඩන්ට්ලා උනත් ඒගොල්ලෝ අවුරුද්දක් යනකොට full stack developer. අප සමහර කතා කරනවානේ කියනවා මේ මම දැන් full end to end මට කවුරුත් උඩින් කවුරුත් overview කරන්න විතරයි ඉන්නේ. මම තමයි තනිකර මොඩියුල් එකේ responsibility එක අරන් තින්නේ. සමහරව අවුරුද්දෙන් කියන එක responsibility එක දෙන කාලය වෙනස් වෙනවා. So some of the engineers get that responsibility within 1 year. Some engineers will never become full stack engineers, right? Uh, some engineers become full stack engineers after about 3-4 years, right? But in general, it is designer, state diagram, designing the state diagram, or anyone playing the role of the designer. So it can be someone like 1 year experienced design engineer preparing the state diagram, right? Because in software engineering, if you can mature fast, right, within 2 years, you will be getting the full responsibility. Okay, full year. මං වැඩ කරපු එක ආයතනයක් තිබුණා. ඒක සාමාන්‍ය අවුරුද්දකට සැරයක් ප්‍රොමෝෂන් දෙන්නේ. ඒ ආයතනේ මාස 6න් හරියට ප්‍රොමෝෂන් දෙනවා. මොකද අවුරුද්දක් වැඩි. මාස 6න් හරියට ප්‍රොමෝෂන් දෙනවා. සමහරවිට මාස 6න් හරියට ප්‍රොමෝෂන් හම්බ වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ AAC SC වෙලා ඊළඟ මාස 6ේදී සීනියර් සොෆ්ට්වෙයාර් ඉංජිනේර් වෙනවා. අනිතට සමහරුන්ට ප්‍රොමෝෂන් හම්බ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හරි. Because 1 month, 1 year is too much in software development. Right. So if you can grow fast, they give you the opportunity. Okay. Right. So that is called test-driven programming. A lot of emphasis on testing. Okay. A lot of emphasis on testing. Right. Release testing and so on. Right. Then the user acceptance testing, the last set of testing. Right. Now we'll move on to the difference between glass box or the white box versus black box. Right. Unit testing, interface testing, integration testing, glass box or white box. System testing, user acceptance testing, stress testing, those are black box. Okay, those are black box. Right. Now we move on to our final topic. थोड़ा break क्या करा papers कराना है थी. Right. Our final topic is software evolution. මේකෙත් highlighted note එක මම upload කරලා ඇත්තේ මේ topic එකේ. Right. Evolution. Remember when we deliver the product. Of course, the delivering the product is also incremental these days, right? Maybe delivered for last 4 months. Every month, delivery one, delivery two, delivery three, delivery four. Now assume that after delivery four, now the software is done, right? So now the officially the requirements are fulfilled. So then we start the evolution. That means officially the development is done, but then you might get some change request, right? Modifications, improvements, and also the software maintenance part is there, like maintaining the software, user handling, backup and recovery, uh, right? So that kind of performance management. So those are part of the software evolution. So therefore, bit of delivery changes to the code as well as backup, recovery, monitoring, that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff. Okay, right. So software changes are inevitable because, especially in business environment, businesses are keep evolving, keep competing with each other. The way we do business is not the way we are going to do business in 2 months' time. So that means the requirements are changed. So that means we need changes to our systems. Okay, right. So new requirements, changes to the current requirements, right? Improvements, bug fixes, because maybe there are bugs, minor bugs you want to fix. That is why we need evolution. Okay. And evolution is very important. And big organizations, the evolution cost is bigger than development cost. Because when you develop a software, maybe we want to use it for next 4 months, 4 years. So that cost is higher than the development cost because during this 4 year, we will be doing a lot of changes, lot of improvements. Okay. So that is the reality. Right. So when it comes to changes, so remember during the evolution, there can be changes. So you need to identify changes. Right? So those changes must be submitted as proposals to the development team. So then the evolution process starts and modifications are done and you get a new system. Actually, not new system, the system with new changes. Okay. Right. So you can, this is the more important diagram. You get a change. This is from development point of view, development team's point of view, their point of view. So you get a change request, right, from the customer. Now you need to do impact analysis, analyze the impact of this change, right? What kind of design changes you need to do, what kind of code changes, what kind of new testing you need to do, right? Impact analysis, and also what kind of effort you need, right? What kind of time you need. So then you need to do the release planning. Okay, actually, here you need to accept or reject the change also. If impact is too much, you can reject the change, but which is very rare these days. So then you need to plan out to which release we are going to give this change, right? Which release, and then you implement it according to your plan release, and then you test and release. Okay, test and release is you need to do it in a very systematic way. You can't say no, but at the same time, you must do it in a very systematic way, right? So you when you get a change, you again do a requirement analysis of that change. And you also it's very important that you update your requirements because now your requirements are updated with new change. So update if there are any user stories or whatever, update those user stories or include this new user story, and then design and develop. So a lot of time what happens is we design and develop, we forget to update the requirements. So then if a new developer or someone come to the project, so they have outdated documents. Of course, we don't care much about documents, but we need at least product backlog, user stories. If user stories are outdated, that is bad, right? So, but if it is an urgent change request, you can't do all these things. You need to quickly fix it, like quick bug fix and so on, right? So then just analyze the source code, modify, and deliver. So you don't have time to, maybe the system is down, okay? Uh, so then you need to quickly do that and maybe later update your documents or requirements, okay? Right. So the changes may involve even hardware problems and other network problems as well, but those are not something we are interested. And what is mean by legacy system? So legacy system is a system that use all technologies, which usually we don't use anymore, right? We don't use anymore. So that is called legacy system. So then someone will ask, why do you keep legacy systems? Maybe because they have not evolved or keep up with the time, keep up with the changes. They have stuck with legacy technologies. So then we have no other option but to manage these legacy system as well. But if possible, we try to upgrade these legacy systems with new technologies because this is very dangerous situation. Very dangerous situation for few reasons. One is if there are issues, it's very difficult to find software developers who can work with these technologies because these are all technologies. Software developers don't like to work with all technologies and sometimes they don't know about it. Okay. All languages and so on. Other thing is, so these legacy systems software is not getting updated, right? Like Java is getting updated, .NET is getting updated, but these software languages are not getting updated. New features are not there. So it's very risky thing to keep legacy systems. Okay. And sometimes it is not just the system, your hardware integration with other software, because your software is integrated with another legacy system. So therefore you can't move away. Sometimes you are willing to change it, but your software is integrated with another software which only support legacy coding. So then you are stuck. Sometimes that is the reason, right? Because sometimes it's as an organization you are stuck with legacy systems as an organization or as a business process. Okay. So legacy system may include not only the software, hardware, integrations, and also legacy process. Your business process is very outdated, right? So then policies and procedures, everything is around old ways of doing things. හරියට පරණ සමුපකාරයකට ගියා වගේ. පරණ ආණ්ඩුවේ ඔෆිස් එකකට ගියා වගේ. ඔක්කොම legacy. ඒතකොට ඔක්කොම legacy වුණාම modern software දාලා වැඩක් නැහැ. ඉන්න මිනිස්සුත් නිකන් නටබුන් වගේ. Right. So replacing legacy system is risky task, expensive task. Okay. But we need to do that one day or the other. One day or the other, we need to do that, whether it's risky or expensive, because keeping that is also even risky. Right. So this is a very important slide. So we can subdivide legacy system based on the business value and system quality. So some legacy systems are low quality, low business value. That means it's very degraded system, not high quality, and it doesn't deliver much of business value to the system, business. So then the best thing is scrap it, get rid of that. මොකද ඒකෙන් ලොකු quality එකකුත් නැහැ system එකේ හරියට ප්‍රශ්න. මේකෙන් ලොකු value එකක් business එකට දෙන්නෙත් නැහැ. ඒක අයින් කළා දාන්න නැත්නම් replace කරන්න. මොකද මේකෙන් ලොකු value එකකුත් නැහැ නැත්නම් මේ system එකේ ප්‍රශ්නනේ. හරි. So second මෙතන තියෙන හතර මේ model කරලා තියෙනවා. Low quality, high business value. So it gives high business value. It's critical for the business, but the system is very low quality. System has a lot of issues, but it's critical for the business. So then replace it. Because මෙයා දැන් මේ ලෙඩෙක්. හැබැයි මේ ලෙඩාගෙන් ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙලා තියෙනවා business එකට. So replace it as quickly as possible. අලුත් system එකක් develop කරන්න. නැත්නම් re-engineer කරලා අලුත් technology වලට convert කරන්න. It's high quality, but it has low business value. Legacy වුණාට නියමයට වැඩ. හැබැයි මිනිහාගෙන් ලොකු සේවයක් නැහැ. Business එකට. දැන් මේ පරණ system එකේ. මොකද business process එක වෙනස් වෙලා. Right? So again you can scrap. අයින් කළා දාන්න. වැඩක් නැහැ. නැත්තම් replace කරන්න වෙන එකේ. මොකද මෙයාගේ high quality වුණාට value එකක් නැහැ. High quality, high business value. මේක legacy වුණාට පට්ට quality. හැබැයි ඒ වගේම ඉතා critical business value එකකුත් දෙනවා. එහෙනම් අපි මේක දිගටම පවත්වාගෙන යමු තව ටික කාලයක් පුළුවන් නම්. සහ පුළුවන් නම් පවත්වාගෙන යමු. මොකද high quality, high business value. Right? But ඒ අතරතුර මෙයාවත් ටික ටික අපි පුළුවන් නම් re-engineering කරලා අලුත් technology වලට ගන්නවා. නැත්නම් ටිකක් කාලයක් යනකොට මෙයාත් මේවලට බහිනවා. හරි? Those are very important. Right? Business value assessment. Right. Software maintenance can be all done on a fault repair, environmental adaptation, like moving port into a new operating system and so on. Functionality addition, functionality modification, right? ඔය ඉතින් මම කියන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. Right. It's very important that you predict maintenance. So that is why when you do your architecture also, make sure it's maintainable, interoperable, portable architecture, right? So that in the future you can do the maintenance much better. Okay. And also predict the possible changes in the future. මොන වගේ තැන්වලින්ද changes එන්නේ කියලා predict කරලා තියන් ඉන්න එක වැදගත්. එතකොට අපිට so we can facilitate those changes when we do the designing. Okay. Right. Complexity matrices, process matrices. So software engineering is, remember, rather than now we have when we have legacy system, we have two options: throw it away and develop a new one. Other option is re-engineer this. One is throw it away and develop completely new system. Other one is re-engineer this. So if you re-engineer the old system, that is called software re-engineering. So in re-engineering, the risk is little bit less. The cost can also be little bit less because you don't scrap this and take a new software. Rather, we modify this, restructure this, like its databases and everything. We can do some changes, and also we use the latest technologies and develop it gradually, transit into a new technology, new system. So that is called software re-engineering. Okay. ඔයාලා දැකලා ඉතින් ඔය සමහර පරණ ගෙවල් තියෙනවා. හරි. ඔය ගෙදර සමහරු කඩලා ඉවරලා අලුත් බිල්ඩිමක් ගහනවා. ඒ ඇවිල්ලා මෙන්න මේ වගේ. සමහර පරණ ගෙවල් තියෙනවා. ඔය නෝ ලිමිට් වගේ කට්ටිය පීසා හට් වගේ අය ගන්නවා. මේකට ටක් ගාලා රිපෙයාර් කරලා ඒ කියන්නේ පුස් බැඳිච්ච වගේ ඒවා ටික අයින් කරලා දාලා වහලා ඔෆ්සෙට් වගේ ඒවා කඩලා දාලා ඕක බටෙන් ගහනවා ප්ලාස්ටික් වලින් සනිකර මොඩර්න් විදියට ගහනවා. හරි. මොඩර්න් විදියට ගහනවා. අන්න ඒකට අපි කියන්නේ software re-engineering කියලා. software re-engineering කියලා. හරි. sorry ඒකට කියන software re-engineering කියන එකට කියන re-engineering කියලා. හරි. re-engineering කියලා. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැකලා තියෙනවා නම් Orion City එක තමයි ලංකාවේ තියෙන ලොකුම software companies තියෙන තැන. Orion City එක. Orion City එකේ building එක තනිකර re-engineering කරලා ගත්තේ. හරි. re-engineering කරලා ගත්තේ. ඕකේ අපිත් හිටිය කාලයක්. මුල කාලේ පුස් කරලා. මොකද පරණ බිත්ති. පරණ බිත්ති අනම්මනම් හරි නිකම් භූත බංගලාවකට යනවා වගේ. හරි දැන් එතන අනිකරම හොයන්න බෑ ඒක රීඉන්ජිනියරින් කරපු එකක්ද කියලා මොඩර්න් ලුක් එකක් දීලා තියෙනවා. හරි ලංකාවේ තියෙන ලොකුම software development companies වැඩිපුරම තියෙන තැන දැනගෙන ඉන්නේ බයි software engineering කරද්දී නේද? හැබැයි තියෙන තැන නම් මහා charter දෙමඩ කොට තියෙන්නේ. පැත්ත හරි නෑ හැබැයි යා මම දැන් ඇයි software එතෙන්ට ගෙනිච්ච කියලා. so මේක තනිකර මේ හරිය රීඉන්ජිනියරින් කරලා ගත්තේ පරණ බිල්ඩින් අරගෙන හැදුවේ. පස්සෙත් තමයි මේ ලොකු බිල්ඩින් එකක් මම හිතන්නේ යා. So Sri Lanka's largest IT park. මේ software engineering කරන වෙලාව ඒක දැනගෙන ඉන්න බෑ. software engineers වැඩි ප්‍රවීණ නැත්නම් ඔතන බෝම්බයක් දැම්මොත් එimhe software engineerට 10,000ක් විතර මැරෙනවා. හරි. Right. So after the break, we'll look at past papers. Okay. Right. So the latest is 2023. Right. So we'll do it fast. Just check every time you check whether multiple answers correct or right only one answer. That means relatively pressure is less on you when they say one answer, right? Right. So let's do it very fast. Which of the following pairs represent application software and system software respective? Right. Ubuntu is not application software. System utilities are not application. Ubuntu is not application. Application software, system software. Yes, data graphic software is application, but word processing is not application. So therefore, we need to remove that. Database management is application, right? And system utilities are system. So answer is C. 1C. Yes, C. Second one, consider the following statements regarding software. Generic software is developed and sold to open market. Yes, right, open market because it's generic software, not to a specific customer. Custom software is developed for a particular customer according to their specification. Yes. Software is set of machine readable instructions to the computer's processor to perform the operations. Yes. Ultimately, machine readable. Otherwise, it's not software, right? So it's software because machine can read and execute it. I'll go forward. E. Yes. Third one. Which of the following statement? Okay, let me resize this. Right, third one. Which of the following is not true regarding the failure rate of hardware and software? Right, so failure rate of hardware is something like this, bathtub. Ideal software is something like this, but reality is something like this. Okay, right. So we discussed that today, even today. Right, this is subject you must get A plus. There's no doubt about that. Okay, if you can't get to A plus for this, that is very bad. Which of the following statement is not true? Right, not true. The failure rate of hardware and software are high at the initial stage. Yes, initial stage, both are high. The failure rate of hardware decreases over the time until it reaches the wear out stage. Yes, then when you reach the wear out stage, it again increase. That is correct. The failure rate of software can increase when new change is introduced to a hardware. Yes, all of a sudden it increase. The failure rate of software always increase because the software wear and out. Oh no, software is not something that wear and out, wear and tear. So therefore, I don't even look at the next one. Third one answer is D. D. Fourth one. Consider the following statement regarding web-based software, web-based systems. Web-based system should be developed and delivered incrementally. Yes, mostly delivered anyway. These days, any system is delivered incrementally. Okay, I'll go for that. Software reuse is the dominant approach for constructing web-based systems. Yes, not only web-based. Everywhere we try to reuse software, right? I'll say yes. Maybe those are debatable, but we use everywhere now. The fundamental principles of software engineering are not applicable to web-based system due to their complexities and distributed nature. No, fundamentals of software engineering must be applicable in any software development, right? So then, unfortunately, there's nothing called right. So the question is, which of the above statements are true? Yes, I'll go for all. I'll go for all A, B, C, E. Examiner has taken only C. That means examiner has not taken C. Why is that? Why is that? The fundamental principle of software engineering are not applicable, right? I didn't see that, right? So it's good. Your answer says not applicable. I read it as applicable. So therefore, obviously, answer is C, right? So that is my misreading. I didn't see the not. Okay, right. Fifth one. Which stage of the software process involve modifying the system in response to change in customer needs? So modifying the systems for the customer need can happen all the time, right? But if it is modification of the system, that means mostly evolution, right? Because but it can happen any place also. But luckily, there's no such answer. I'll go for E. Six. Consider the following statement regarding software process models. Repository model. Actually, this is not a proper repository model. Is not a software process model. It's an architectural model, right? Repository model is an example of process model. No, it's an architectural model. Software process models are like agile, waterfall, spiral. Software process model provides an abstract representation of the process. Yes, abstract representation of the process. Plan-driven processes, that is waterfall, and spiral processes are considered two major types of software development process. Actually, the two major types of software development processes are plan-driven and agile. Spiral is sort of an in-between guy, transition guy. So therefore, I don't know, can we take it as a major process? Okay. But actually, so spiral is also considered as a process, right? But I don't want to compare spiral with plan driven. So basically, plan driven I compare with agile. So therefore, I will not take that. But anyway, it can be debatable. But I'll stick with plan driven versus agile. And waterfall, spiral, iterative, that is a different classification for me. So I'll go for only B. Right? Six, I'll go for B. Yes. Seven. Which of the following statement not true regarding waterfall model? Each stage must be completed before moving to the next stage of development. Yes. Theoretically, yes. Waterfall model is suitable for project where the requirements are well defined. Yes. Waterfall model is an example for plan-driven process. Yes, plan-driven. Client feedback plays a major role in the development phases. No, right? Feedbacks you don't get in the development phase in waterfall, right? Waterfall. Elaborative documentation done at every stage. Yes, documentation we need to do, but you don't get customer feedback in development phase, right? I'll go for D. Yes. Consider the following diagram related to process stages of reuse based software development, right? Reuse based. Now, I told you this is very critical. Identify the process stages denoted by letter X and Y in the above diagram. X and Y. So X is the very first stage, software discovery, software evaluation, then do this, and then configure application systems, adapt, and blah blah. This is a very initial requirement analysis or something, right? It can be requirement specification, not requirement validation or refinement. Okay, requirement specification. So then what is this now? Software discovery, that means we have discovered the components and evaluate the components. Now we need to maybe assemble or something. Okay. uh, Requirement refinement, requirement specification, requirement refinement, requirement validation, requirement is we need to refine your requirements, right? Remember, once you discover the components, now these components may not 100% related to our requirements, so therefore we need to do the requirement refinement and then re-specify it, and maybe we can further refine the components, and then you go there, assemble them, integrate them, and do it, right? So therefore, you can see these are all related to refinement, specification, refinement, validation, description. So it must be refinement, right? Because you need to refine and again reevaluate whether there are even better things. So when we are happy, we proceed. I'll go for eight. 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 Nine. Which of the following is not considered as maturity levels in capability maturity model? Right. Initially is a model, right? Optimizing is the last. Initially is the one. Optimizing is the last. Standardize, I don't remember. Define is there. Repeatable is there. I don't think there's something called standardize. බලන්න මතකින් තමයි කරන්න ඕනේ කනක. I don't think there's something called standardize in CMM model. Yes, C. There's no standardize. CMM stages ටික මතක තියාගන්න. Which of the following represents a best practices in extreme programming? Elaborative documentation? No, that is not extreme programming thing. Long release cycles? Long release cycles? No, right? No. Right. අපි තාම හරි උත්තර කරන්නේ නැහැ. Refactoring, yes. We keep refactoring, improving. Fixed project scope? No. Sequential development? No. Yes, we keep refactor things, keep improving things. It's a continuous thing. Right? 10C. 11. Consider the following statement regarding pair programming. Developers can switch between driver and navigator role as needed. Yes. Sometimes you play the active role, sometimes you play the passive role. And you need to change it. එක්කෙනෙක් හැමදාම passive role play කරන්න බෑ. එතකොට අනිත් මිනිස්සයා මරාගෙන කනවා. Two developers develop the code together by using two different workstations. No, not two different workstations in the same workstation, same machine. One developer thinks the overall design approach while the other developer relatively actively write the code. Yes. අරයා කෝඩ් එක ලියනකොට අනිත් එක නම් big picture එකක ඉන්නේ නැවත ඉස්සර. අනිත් එක නම් ඒක බලනවා. හැබැයි එයාට වෙලාව තියෙනවා big picture එකේ ඉන්න. මොකද එයා කෝඩ් ලියන්නේ නැහැ ඒ වෙලාවේ. I'll go for A and C. Right? D. 12. Which of the following statement is not true regarding the product owner role in Scrum? Right, product owner. Product owner owns the requirements, give you the feedback. Right, product owner is the go-to person for clarifications. Product owner do the product backlog grooming. Right, owns the vision and goal of the project. Yes, represent all stakeholders of the project. Yes, sort of a yes. Yeah, he's the representation of all stakeholders. Responsible for requirement of the project, yes. Protect the project team and help to remove. No, that is the part of the Scrum Master. That is Scrum Master. Scrum Master is the servant leader, coach, okay, impedance remover, right? So Scrum Master is the process coach. So that is not task of the product owner. Responsible for maximum return on the investment. Yes, he think about the business aspect, right? He think about the business aspect. That is why we need someone from customer. So definitely answer is D. 13. If you need any clarification, you need to tell, right? I'm going fast, right? I'm going fast. Uh, Consider the following Scrum practices in agile development. Scrum practices. Sprint review, yes. Sprint backlog creation, yes. That we do in the sprint planning meeting. Sprint planning meeting, yes. Daily Scrum meeting, yes. Product backlog creation, අහන්න පිළිවෙලනේ. Sorry, ඔක්කොම කරනවා. Right. What is the පිළිවෙල? හරි. So let's say sprint review must be at the very end. Sprint backlog creation must be at the very beginning. Right. Sprint planning meeting must be before that because sprint backlog creation is done there. Daily Scrum meeting must be somewhere here. Product backlog creation must be product backlog creation. මොකක්ද අපිට මිස් උනේ? Sprint review here. Sprint backlog creation here. Sprint planning meeting here. Daily Scrum meeting here. Product backlog creation must be even before that. Because product backlog creation is at the very beginning. ECBDA. B. B. 13. Which of the following is an external non-functional requirement of the system? External non-functional. Right? Usability is internal. Security is internal. Interoperability, little bit related to external because interoperable with other systems, but definitely legal, right? Legal is not our internal link, that is external. So answer must be E. 15. Which of the following statement is true regarding requirement engineering process? Right? Requirement engineering, requirement elicitation, requirement modeling, validation. Requirement engineering is not considered as an iterative process. No, it's an iterative process, right? You need to go back to the customer, verify it, clarify it. Requirement elicitation and analysis. The process is used to standardize the requirements, yes. Interviews and ethnography are considered as two fundamental approach to requirement specification. Yes, specification, the requirement elicitations. පොඩ්ඩක් විතර මේ වචනේ upset. But anyway, let's keep it. මුකුත් නැත්නම් ඒක ගමුවා. Requirement validation ensures that requirement actually define the system that the customers wants. Yes, that validate it. System requirements cannot be written in natural languages. Cannot be written in natural language. Of course, we can write in natural language, but make it very structured, clear, right? Very structured and clear. දැන් මේ දෙක තමයි පොඩ්ඩක් debatable දෙන්න. මේ දෙනෙන් කවද ගන්නේ? අනේ true ඒවා අහන්නේ නේද? True ඒවා කොටක් තියෙනවද? Right. This is not මේක නම් වැරදි කොහොමද? Requirement elicitation and analysis process is used in standardizing the requirements. එහෙනම් මේක ගමු නේද? අනිත් අපිට මේකත් හරි. Requirement validation ensures that the requirements actually define the system that the customer wants. මේක නම් full අංජබජල් question එකක් මට. For me, this is also good. Elicitation and analysis process is used to standardize the requirements. Standardize. Uh, two fundamental approach requirement specification and validation ensures cannot be කියලා තියෙනවා මේක ආයෙ තියෙනවා cannot be. මම මේක ගන්නෙ නෑ මොකද natural language use කරන්න පුළුවන් හැබැයි පොඩ්ඩක් පරිස්සමෙන් මේක ගන්නෙත් නෑ මේ තුන එකක් දැන් ගන්න වෙනවා. මේක ස්පෙસિෆිකේෂන් මත කියලා රික්වයර්මන්ට් ස්පෙસિෆිකේෂන් කියලා තමයි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කියන්නේ නේද? බලන්න නෝට් එකේ ඔක
So what is the meaning?
yes what is your question?
What is the meaning of requirement elicitation?
Elicitation means we elaborate the requirements gradually because requirements are conceptual things. We need to gradually take it to the light by iteratively, right? Get more clarifications and sometimes create a prototype and again show it to the customer. So it's a gradual process. That is why we use the word elicitation. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Right. So yeah, let's double check. So this is software development processes, right? Not we need software. This agile development. Right, requirement engineering. So these are different type of requirements, stakeholders, functional versus non-functional. Right, product organized external, non-functional requirements. Right, requirement engineering process, requirement elicitation and analysis. Elicitation වලට තමයි කරන් තියෙන්නේ, right? Interviews වගේ දේවල්. So then specifications, that is the documentation. Convert these requirements into standard form is called the specification. Then the validation is that is basically you show it to the customer. So discover requirements by interacting with the stakeholder. They take it as elicitation and analysis. So they have taken it as elicitation and analysis, specification, validation. Ne? Then බලමු. දැන් බලමු. Requirement elicitation and analysis process use standardized. එහෙම මේක හරි. හරි. Interviews and ethnography are considered as two fundamental approach requirement specification. No, right? Not specification. That is elicitation, right? Because specification is more modeling, more modeling. So therefore, I will not take this. Right? I will not take this. Requirement validation ensure that the requirements actually define the system that the customer wants. Okay, note එකේ විදිහට නම් ඒක නෙමෙයි තියෙන්නේ. Customer wants ඒකත් හරි එහෙම බැලුවොත්. Requirement validation උත් හරි එහෙම බැලුවොත්. එහෙම බැලුවොත් උත්තර දෙකක් තියෙනවා දැන්. හරි? So make අවුලක් තියෙනවා requirement elicitation and analysis process is used to standardize the requirements. Standardize the requirement කියන එක එච්චර හොඳ නෑනේ. හරි. මම හිතන්නේ straightforward answer is D. Straightforward answer is මේක standardize කියනකට වඩා understand වගේ නේද? So we'll go for D. We'll go for D. Yes, examiners you gone for D. Okay. Right. That means examiners expected the strict explanation from you now. 16. Consider the following requirements related to hospital management system. The system should allow patients and staff to schedule, and which of the above would be non-functional requirements, right? This is not a non-functional requirement, it's functionality. The system must track and manage hospital inventory, that is functionality. System must handle at least 200 account concurrent, that is a non-functional requirement, performance. The system was capable of restoring patient data and resuming full operation within 30 minutes after failure. Yes. security backup, C and D. 16E. E. Which of the following pairs is considered as requirement validation techniques? Validations. Reviews are validations. Prototyping. Okay, let's see. Test case generation, interviews. Prototyping, user stories. Requirement reviews, observations. Observations, interviews. We cannot take American fussy. When you generate test cases, also you can validate, but interviews, I think A is the best for me. Prototyping, we can show it, right? In requirement reviews, definitely we can do validations, right? Observation is not validation technique, right? I don't like this one, observation. User story is not a validation. Uh, I'll go for A, right? B is also possible, but I'll go for A. Okay. Yes, A. Okay. ඒක ටිකක් ෆසි. ඉතින් පොඩ්ඩක් කල්පනා කරලා ලක්කයක් චුට්ටක් තියෙනවා නා. 18. හැබැයි ලක් එක නෙමෙයි ඒක ඔයා වැඩියෙන් ඔයාගේ හිත යනවා කියන එකට. හරි. ඒක ලක් එක කියන වචනේ වැරදි ඇත්තටම. හරි. Consider the following statement regarding use case diagrams. Right, use case diagrams. Use cases deals only with the functional requirements of the system. Yes, mainly functional requirements. Use case diagrams are not for the non-functional requirements, mainly. Right, have only කියන වචනේ ටිකක් බරපතල වැඩි. Still I will go for that. For the only කිව්ව ගමන් නිකන් extreme වෙනවා හැබැයි. But mainly කිව්වනම් වැඩි හොඳයි, but anyway I'll take it. Actors of the use case diagrams are always human entities. No, it can be other systems. Other systems can also be initiating things. The include relationship is used to indicate that a use case adds an optional behavior. No, optional behavior is extends. Include means mandatory. None කියන එක නැති හන්ද කොහොමද දැන් මට ලේසි. I will go for A. Right? A. 90. Which of the following is not considered as primary perspective of system modeling? Primary perspective of system modeling. Not considered as primary perspective of system modeling. External perspective, internal perspective, behavioral perspective, structural perspective, interaction perspective. ඒක නම් ඔය නෝට් එකෙන් තමයි ගන්න ඕනේ. මට එකපාරට ඔළුවට එන්නේ නැත. නෝට් එකේ තමයි ඔක තියුනේ. Right, perspectives. I think it is in modeling. Right, external, internal, structural, behavioral. Right, internal, external, structural, behavioral. External, internal, structural, behavioral. So the answer is D. Right, ඒක නම් මතකින් කරන්න වෙන්නේ. 19D or 19B. How comes B? Not considered as primary perspective. Not even system perspectives. External, internal, structural, behavioral. I think the answer is wrong, right? I think the answer is wrong. Right. So definitely answer must be wrong, right? Make a standard modeling and
it is interaction.
Sorry?
It is interaction in the note.
Interaction is in the note. Sorry, this is not internal, right? External interaction, sorry. External interaction, structural behavior. Yes, yes, yes. So interaction is there. Internal is not there, right? External, interactional, structural, behavioral. Oh, yes. 19 answer is B. 20. Which of the following notation is used to illustrate alternative paths or branches in the sequence of interaction between the objects in a sequence diagram? So alternative paths are mentioned using what? Diamond shape, right? Something like this. Go like this way or that way. Which of the following notation used in alternative paths? So alternative, now this is very unfair question. This is from object-oriented system analysis and design subject. But anyway, I have uploaded you the note for that. So that is called ALT. ALT. Okay. That if you have referred to that note, you should have seen this ALT. Let me open your note. That is why I shared it, because examiner is sometimes, because the subject is so easy, try to ask question from semester 4. එතකොට repeat කරන ස්ටුඩන්ට් ලට වාසිය බෑ. හරි. ඒක හරි අසාධාරණ වැඩක්. repeat කරන ස්ටුඩන්ට් semester 4 කරලානේ ආයෙ semester 3 කරන්නේ. Semester 4. Semester 2. Right. So I have uploaded this. So it should be in interaction diagrams. මම හැබැයි සමහර ඒවා අයින් කරා. අනවශ්‍ය විදියට තියෙන ටිකක් හැබැයි ඔක අයින් කරලා දන්නේ නැහැ කැලේ. Because I try to make it a little bit simpler. Right. මම එකෙන් අයින් කරා ඒ කොටස ඕනේ නැති වෙයි කියලා වැඩි කියලා. හැබැයි ඒකෙම දාලා තියෙනවා. ඒකෙම දාලා තියෙනවා. Right. So by the way, that is called alt ALT. Okay, ALT. Right. මොකද ඔයගොල්ලන් දරා ගන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රමාණයක් තියෙනවා මම සමහර ඒවා අයින් කරලා දැම්මා. මොකද semester 4 වහන එක වැරදි semester 3 වල. So usually this is called alternative paths are in ALT path. Okay. So let's double check the answer. Yes, ALT එක පොඩ්ඩක් note කරලා තියාගන්න. මම ඕනනම් ඒක UCSC note එක දාන්නම් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ මේකට. semester 3 වල තියෙන එක ඇත්තට. Not activity diagram, sequence diagram. ඉතින් ALT කියලා. Right. ALT and else operations. Right. So it's related to this, okay? ALT. මොනවා හිතන්නේ නැහැ. ඔප්ෂනල් ඒවා තියෙනවා. ඒක මම ඒක නෝට් එක දාන්නම් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ UCSC මේ WhatsApp group එකට හරි. This is but semester 3. Right, semester 3. Right. Anyway, let's continue. ඉතින් එහෙම question එක දාන්නේ අර A+ වලට යන්නේම පොඩ්ඩක් අඩු කරගන්න. මොකද subject එක ගොඩක් ලේසියිනේ. Right, 21. හැබැයි ඒකෙන් වෙන්නේ repeat කරපු ස්ටුඩන්ට්ට වාසි වෙන. repeat කරපු ස්ටුඩන්ට්ට කොහොමද ඉතින් 100කට වැඩි දෙන්නේ නැහනේ. Repeat now. Consider the class diagram given below. The relation denoted by letter X and letter Y. Remember, පාට කරලා නම් තියෙන්නේ composition. Hollow aggregation. I explain you. This is aggregation. This is composition. Right? So this is more stronger. This is more stronger. Okay. Team cannot exist without company. But employee can exist without a team. Okay. But whole part. So X is composition, Y is aggregation. Okay. 21B. 21B. B. 22. Which of the following diagram is used to show the system reacts to internal and external events? System react to internal and external events. Not class diagram. Not use case diagram. Events. System reacts to internal and external events. Not state diagram. internal and external events. React. Possibly sequence diagram, right? Or activity diagram. But I will go for a sequence diagram because it's more React message passing and so on. How it react is by message passing and doing that. I'll go for A, but B is also possible. Okay. C around state diagram. It's system react. Anyway, it's a debatable answer. Okay. අපි chat GPT කියන කාර්ය බලමු. තමයි chat GPT ඇග්‍රී වුණොත් අපි ගමු ඉතින් කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. These are that question is very sort of a fuzzy, okay? Not very standard thing. Right. Yeah, use කරන්න දෙන්න. ඔක්කොම chat GPT ටික ඉවරයි. එයා කියන්නේ state diagram තමයි කියලා. Okay? How system react to internal and external events by transitioning between different states. Okay? Right. So we'll take it as state diagram. Okay. Right. Next question. Consider the following statement regarding generalization, that is related to inheritance. Hollow arrowhead. No, hollow arrowhead is not used, right? It's something like this. Subclass inherit the attributes and operations from their superclasses. Yes. Reusability and reduced complexity are considered as advantage of generalization. Reusability, yes, it's little bit of reduced complexity also, right? Because the things are not duplicated, right? B only කියලා ගන්නවද BC දෙකම ගන්නවද? හොඳට BC නැහැ. හරි? BC දෙකම නැහැ. So anyway, A is wrong. Hollow arrowhead is wrong. So therefore, A තියෙනවා අයින් කරමු අපි. ඒතර ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ B only තමයි. මම කිය මෙතන මේ reduce complexity කියන එක පොඩ්ඩක් debatable, but definitely make it reusable. Okay? So therefore, we'll go for B then, right? Because this is not very good thing to do. Anyway, BC is not answer. ඔය BC තියුණා මම ගහනවා ඒකට හැබැයි. Yeah. Right. 23 will go for B. ඔක්කොම රන් එපා. Hollow arrowhead is used to denote generalization. Hollow arrowhead. Hollow. හරි. Hollow කියන්නේ මේ පාට කරලා නැහැ කියන එක නේ. Right. Hollow කියන්නේ මේ open කියන එක නෙමෙයි. This is open arrowhead. This is closed arrowhead. Close but hollow. හරි. Right. පාට කරන්නේ නැහැ නේ අපි මේක. බෑ සමහරු පාටක් කරනවා. හරි. සමහරු පාටක් කරනවා. ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ නෝට් එක පාට කරලා තියෙනවද? නෑනේ. hollow තියෙයි. ඔයගොල්ලෝ පෙන්නලා තියෙන ඔක්කොම hollow කරලා. Hollow arrowhead. Right. So therefore, yes, right. ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගන්න එක පාට කරන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. හරි. හැබැයි ඔය ගොඩක් අයට ගියොත් සමහර පාට කරනවා. මමත් සමහරලාට පාට කරනවා. හරි. Inheritance. Class diagram. බලමු පාට කරන එක වැරදිද කියලා. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒක හදාගන්න පුළුවන්. මේ පේනත් පාට කරන්නේ සමහරව නෑ පාට කරන්නේ නෑනේ. මේ සමහරව පාට කරනවා පේනවා. But it's better to make it hollow, right? Some people සමහර පාට කරනවා එක. ඒකයි මම කිය එක ටිකක් කචල් කියලා හරි. Right. So anyway, we'll take it as hollow arrowhead. Right. Hollow. Hollow but close. Okay. Close. Right. Next one. So therefore හැබැයි එතකොට මේ තුනම අරන් තිනවා. මේකත් එතකොට reduce complexity කියන එකත් අරන් තිනවා. හරි. reduce complexity කියන එකත් අරන් තිනවා එහෙමනම්. So maybe because the duplicate codes are not there. Right. Duplicate codes are not there. Maybe in a way it's additional complexity also, but at the same time it reduce some complexity. Right. But anyway, this is taken as hollow arrowhead. Hollow කියන්නේ මේ පාට කරලා නැහැ. හරි. මම ඉතින් hollow කියන්නේ වහන්නේ නැහැ කියන්නේ that is open and closed නේ. හරි. 24. Which of the following statement is true regarding data-driven modeling? So data-driven modeling means we are driven by data. It's data-heavy application. Okay, it's a data-heavy application. Data-driven modeling shows how the system responds to external. No, that is event-driven application. Data-driven models show the sequence of actions involved in processing input data and gathering an associated output. What is that? ඒක data driven. Right. Data flow diagrams can be represented using class diagrams. Of course, data flow diagrams are and class diagrams are two different diagrams. Data flow diagram shows the object classes in the system. No, data flow diagrams are flowing of data. Data flow diagrams are for structured system analysis, not for object oriented. So this is completely wrong. Real-time systems are often data-driven with minimal event processing. Real-time processing. මෙන්න මේ දෙන තමයි දැන් සැකකාරයෝ දෙන්න. Data-driven models. ඕක ඔයාගේ note එකේ තියෙන definition එකෙන් තමයි අරන් තියෙන්නේ අනිවාර්යෙන්. මේ තියෙන්නේ. ඔන්න ඒක තමයි ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. Data-driven model shows the sequence of actions involved processing input data and generating associated outputs. හරි. මේ වගේ ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් ක්වෙස්චන් නෙමෙයි හරි. සමහරවල් ලංකාවේ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි ස්ලයිඩ් එකේ දාලා ඉවර ස්ලයිඩ් එකේ තියෙන වචනයක වාක්‍යයකින් ක්වෙස්චන් එකක් හදනවා. ස්ලයිඩ් එක මතකද බලන්න. හරි මේ වගේ ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් නොලෙජ් නෙමෙයි හැබැයි එතකොට ඉතින් හරි උත්තරේ හොයාගත්තා. So this is the answer. Right 24. So අපේ education system එකේ තියෙන අවුලක් තමයි ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් concepts ගහනවා වගේම හිතුව ගමන් ස්ලයිඩ් එකේ තියෙන වාක්‍යයක් දාලා අහනවා. එතකොට ඒක ඒ සබ් ඒ කියන්නේ හොඳ software engineering paper එකක් කියන්නේ ලෝකේ ඉන්න ඕන software engineer කෙනෙක් තවන්න පාස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් වෙනවා. එච්චරයි. හරි. හොඳ software engineering exam paper එකක් කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? එයා BIT නොකරත් එයා ආවට පස්සේ හොඳ software engineer කෙනෙක් නම් පාස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඔක දැන් international level එකේ paper එකක් හදනකොට කරනවා. නමුත් අපේ paper වල තියෙන්නේ note එකේ තියෙනවා තමයි ප්‍රශ්න අහන්නේ සමහරලාට බොහෝ වෙලාවට නෙවෙයි දැන් මේක 90%ක්ම ඒ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න තමයි තියෙන්නේ නමුත් 5-10ක් විතර හිමවත් දානවා හරි එතකොට මේ ප්‍රශ්නයකට උත්තරයක් දෙන්න නම් අනිවාර්යෙන් ඒ නෝට් එක කියවපු කෙනෙකු වෙන්න ඕන ඒක මතක තියෙන්නත් ඕන හරි මේක ඒ වගේ ක්වෙස්චන් එකක් හරි right consider the following statement regarding software architecture කොටින්ම කිව්වොත් එහෙම මේ වගේ පේපර් එකකට chat GPT එක දුන්නත් සමහරට පාස් වෙන්න බැරි වෙනවා මොකද එයා ගාව නැහැ නේ BIT නෝට් එක හරි සමහර questions right හොඳ පේපර් එකක් නම් ලෝකේ ඕන කෙනෙක්ට ඒ සබ්ජෙක්ට් එකේ එක්ස්පර්ට් කෙනෙක්ට ඇවිල්ලා පාස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් වෙනවා. ඒක තියෙනවා ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් නොලෙජ්. software engineering ගැන ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් නොලෙජ්, agile development ගැන ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් නොලෙජ්. නැත්නම් පොතක තියෙන මතවාද විතරක් නෙමෙයි. Right 25 consider the following statement regarding software architecture. Refactoring the system architecture is usually expensive. Yes, because architectural changes are expensive, right? Because those are high level big things. Yes. Software architecture is used to create a working prototype of the system. Right? Software architecture is used to create working prototype is debatable answer for me. Because architecture is used to build your system. Right? Software architecture focus significantly on quality attributes of the system. Yes, we think about the security, performance, right? When we do the architecture, right? Interoperability, I'll go for that. Take a note, take a pen. Okay. I'll go for A and C. C. Yes. Which of the following is not considered as view of 4+1 view model of software development? Right. ඔයාගේ note එකේ තියෙන 4+ view එක මට හරියට මතක නැහැ මොකද්ද 4යි 5යි කියලා. හරි. ඔක design වල ඇත්ත analysis වල ඇත්ත. මෙන්න මෙහි ඇත්ත. Architectural view. This one is a 4+1 view. Logical view, physical view, process view, development view. Right. 4+1 view. Logical, process, development, physical. Okay. And the +1 is related using use cases or scenarios. Okay. Logical, process, development, physical. Logical, process, development, physical. Logical, process, development, physical. So then the not is deployment, right? 26E. මේකත් එච්චරම ලොකුවට ගන්න එකක් නෙමෙයි. නමුත් ඉතින් ඔයගේ note එකේ තියෙන අදහනවා. හරි. 27. Consider the following statement regarding model view controller architecture. Model interacts with the database to manipulate the system data. Yes, that is what model is doing. MVC is used when there are multiple ways to view and interact with data. Multiple ways to view and interact with data. In a way, yes. Like we can use MVC for mobile, right? Then we can reuse control and model and have different views, right? One for web, one for mobile app, and so on. For me, that looks okay for me. Okay. The view component defines and manage how the data is presented to the user. Yes, how the data is presented to the user. Right? I'll go for E. All. Yes, E. 28. Consider the following statement regarding pipe filter architecture. That means your data is gradually processed and give it to the next level, next level, next level, and so on. Okay. Filters can be reused in the various part of the same system. ඒක නම් ටිකක් කචල්. Yes, කරන්න නම් පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕන නේද? Various part of the system. Filters are like control logic. ඒක නම් sure නෑ. Pipes and filter architecture pattern is primarily used for system in high user interactions, not for high user interaction. That is event driven, right? Pipe serves as communication channel between the filters to support data flow from, yes, pipe is used to serve as data flow, facilitate data to flow. That is correct. Right? So only C තියනවද? නෑ, only C නෑ හොඳ වෙලාවට. But C must be in the answer. Only A තියෙනවා හැබැයි. නෑ, C කොහොමත් හරිනේ. අපි ඒක හඳයමු A and C වලට. Let's see හරි. මේක වෙන්න බෑ. This is event driven. So therefore C තියෙන්නත් ඕන. C විතරක් නැති හන්ද අපි A and C වලට යන්න. හරි. 28 will go for C. Yes, answer is C. Okay. Right. 29. Which of the ඉස්සර question එක කියවන්නේ හැලි කියවන්නේ නැහැ. Which of the following is the most suitable architectural pattern for above scenario? A parcel delivery service entered name, center name, Expresso operates a delivery management portal hosted on a cloud server using RESTful APIs. Multiple users can access the portal to manage the shipments and track their parcel deliveries. The delivery management portal handles real-time updates regarding parcels and management the changes in their delivery status. Right. I don't think layered architecture is needed. Repository is not going to work. MVC possibly yes, because this is more a web application. Okay. Client server, yes, because it's more web application. Pipe filter, do you need that kind of things? This is more for me sort of a client server, MVC. Okay. හැබැයි ඉතින් කොයි එකද ගන්න කියලා දැන් ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. Okay. MVC or client server. Model view controller the client server. මේක නිකන් කියන්නේ ගොඩක් web නේද? Cloud server, RESTful API. So therefore, yeah, I'm not very sure which one to take. Right. I'm not very sure, right? Maybe maybe E, maybe C for me. Right. What is the answer given? Yes, examiner has taken client server architecture. Okay, client server architecture. Right. 30. Which of the following is not considered as common step in software design process? Right. Specify object interfaces. Yes, we specify. Design the system architecture. Yes. Specify the technologies for the development. Design එකේදී technology specify කරන්න ඕනේද? Identify principal system objects. Okay. So මෙන්න මේක තමයි ප්‍රශ්න. Right. But develop the develop the design models, right? Models develop කරන්න. මේ ටික හරි වගේ. But technology ගැන එච්චර හිතන්නේ නැහැ අපි architecture කරද්දී හැබැයි. Right? Software design process එකේ. So therefore I'll go for C because design is, we are not very much, yes, latter part of the design, yes, that is for physical design, right? But especially in මෙතන තියෙන debatable එක කෙනා තමයි C. මොකද අනිත් ඒවා හරි. අනිත් ඒවා හරි. So therefore debatable one is C because especially at the early stages we don't think about technology because that is bad. Okay. So we can later find the best technology. So we'll go for C then. I don't know. Maybe C or D. Yes, examiner has taken C. Okay. Which of the following design pattern is used extending the functionality of existing classes at runtime? අන්න මම කිව්වා design patterns ටික පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න කියලා. හරි. බලන්න කිව්වොත් ඕකට ඔන්න ඒ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න අහන්නේ හොඳයි. ඔයාට නැතුව A+ එකක් දෙන්න බෑනේ. හරි. Which of the following design pattern is used to extend in the functionality of existing class? ඒ කියන්නේ දැනට තියෙන functionality එකට තව පොඩි modifications ටිකක් දාන්නයි හදන්නේ. හරි. Right. Singleton is when you single object must serve all the client requests. Single, එකයි කියන්නේ singleton කියලා. Right. So that is not the answer. That is not the answer. Iterator is pretty much මම දැන් මේ වැරදිව අයින් කරනවා. Iterator is pretty much how do you design a way of doing repetitive things. Right. Iterate. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැකලා තියෙන collection framework එක iterate එකක් ගන්නත් පුළුවන් වන්න. Right. Observer is something like you observe for events. මෙතන මොන හරි වුණාම ආට ඒක notify කරනවා. This is not notification. Okay. So then we have the facade and decorator. ගොඩක් කාට තියෙන එක වෙනස් කරනවාට කියන්නේ decorator එකක් කරනවා කියලා. Right, decorator. එකක් කරන විදියක් තියෙනවා හැබැයි යා. Right. ඔයාට coding නැතත් I think the best. I think the for me answer is anyway decorator because that is you extend the function. Again, අර තියෙන එකක් කරන් decorate කරනවා. හරි. Let's double check the answer first. Yes, D. One thing you can do is go to ChatGPT and ask, explain basic design patterns and its usages. දැන් මේ question එක තියෙනවා හරි. තියුණා නැතත් මේව දැනගෙන ඉන්න එක හොඳයි. In simple කියලා තෝරනම් කියන්නේ. එතකොට එයා සරලව කියනවා. හරි. සරල මැදින් එක තව ටිකක් සරලව කියන්න කියලා. හරි. Right. You can see singleton. ඔයාට ඕනේ මෙන්න මේ level එක විතරයි දැන්. Only one instance of the class is allowed. කියන්නේ හැමෝටම එක object එකකින් serve කරනවා. එක එකනට වෙන වෙන object හදන්නේ නැහැ. Right? Code දිය තියෙනවා code ඕනේ factory method it's a way of creating objects let subclasses decide which class to instantiate ඒක polymorphism වලට අදාළ කතන්දරයක් okay so when you don't know what object type you will need so that means when we say animal you don't know whether I should create a dog or cat that you can delay at runtime so those are two creational patterns. Creational means those patterns are related to creation. So sometimes they will ask what are the type of patterns also, right? Creational patterns, structural patterns. So adapt I explain you in that class, right? So when you have two dissimilar interfaces, we want to integrate. So you can create adapter, right? Converts one interface to another, the client expects. Like the client expect කරන විදිහට අරයව convert කරලා දෙනවා. Right? So කරන විදියක් තියලා තියෙනවා ඒ code එක අපිට අන්න decorate. Add responsibilities to object without changing their code. That means add more responsibilities. තියෙන එකට තව වෙනස්කම් ටිකක් දානවා. තියෙන එක වෙනස් නොකර හැබැයි. තියෙන කෝඩ් එක වෙනස් නොකර. තියෙන ඉන්ටර්ෆේස් එක වෙනස් නොකර. ඒතර කලින් අයටත් පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕන. අලුත් ෆීචර් එකක් දෙන්න ඕන. Dynamically add features to UI elements or text processes. Right? ඔක දැන් අහලා තියෙන්නේ. අලුත් දේවල් add කරනවා තියෙන එක වෙනස් නොකර. Then behavioral patterns like observer. Observer is කියන වාට කියනවා notify කරන්න කියලා මේ events උනොත් එහෙම. So then you are observer. Okay. When one object changes, the others are notified automatically. Right. So we have those notify object and observe objects. Like news updates, event listeners, and so on. Strategy pattern is somewhat complicated pattern actually. It choose an algorithm at runtime. ඒකයි strategy කියන්නේ. ඒ වෙලේ තමයි decide කරන්නේ මොන algorithm එකද use කරන්න කියලා. ඒක ගැන එච්චර worry වෙන්න එපා තාම දන්නේ නැත්නම් ඒවා. හරි. Then the command pattern encapsulate the request as an object. හරි. අන්න ඒ level එකට දැනගෙන හිටියම ඇති දැන්ට. හරි. තව ටිකක් තියෙනවා ඔතන. හරි. ප්‍රධාන ටික තියෙනවා. හරි. ඔන්න ඕක පොඩ්ඩක් මාක් නෝට් කරගන්න. මොකද ආයි exam එකකට නැතත් මම දැනගෙන ඉන්නේ හොඳයි. Right. 32. Which of the following costs should be considered in the reuse-based software implementation? The cost of integrating reusable software elements with each other. Yes. Cost of the time spent in looking for the software to reuse and assessing whether it meets the needs. Oh, ඒකත් ඕනනම් ගන්න පුළුවන් නේද? You spend some time to assess those things, right? I don't know that it's a very big cost, but we'll take it. The cost of adapting and configuring the reusable software components or system to reflect the requirements of the system. Yes. Cost of adapting and configuring. මේ දෙක තමයි මට හොඳටම සෙට් වෙන දෙක නම් හැබැයි හරි. A and C time spent කියලා තියෙනවා හැබැයි නේද? ABC තියෙනවා. මේ දෙකෙන් කොයි එකද කියලා මට හිතා ගන්න බෑ. ඔය දෙකක් වෙන්න ඕන. හරි? මම දන්නේ නැහැ. මට හිතෙනවා නිකන් D වැඩි හොඳයි කියලා C B ටිකක් අනවශ්‍ය දෙයක්ද කියලාත් හිතෙනවා. හරි? Or examiner might go for E. Right. What is the answer given? Yes, examiner has taken all three. Okay. පොඩි cost එකක් වුණත් ඒකත් අරන් තියෙනවා. Cost of looking for time spent for looking for the software. Right, A, B, C. Which of the following is considered as an example for static testing? Static testing. Static testing means you don't run your program, right? You don't run like inspections. System testing, no. Component testing, unit testing, no. Release testing, no. Unit testing, no. Inspection. That you just inspect the code and see whether it's properly done. Are there any issues? Right? B, 33B. 34. Consider the following statement about the equivalence partition strategy. So that is testing related, right? Testing related. All partitions are equal in size. එහෙම එකක් නෑ නේද? Equivalent කියන්නේ equal size නෙමෙයි. Right? So different ranges can be like this. We are interested in identifying different scenarios. I don't think so, right? Equal in size වෙන්න ඕනේ නෑ. Testing one partition is sufficient to validate the system. No, you need to test each partition. But one partition is sufficient for entire range. Right? So you need to test each partition, but one partition, one test case is sufficient for this range. So therefore, that is wrong. That is wrong. The system is expected to respond similarly to any input within the same partition. Yes, that is why we take it as one partition. That is why we just take one from that, because system is expected to behave the same way for this range, this partition. Yes. Right. So equal size වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. මේවා වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් ranges, right? So therefore I will not take this also. So then I will go for C. Right. මම දන්නේ නැහැ ඒත් ගණීත මට මතක නැහැ equal size කතාවක් හරි. ඔය equivalent කියන්නේ equal නෙමෙයි හැබැයි. Yeah. Right. Let's double check the answer. Yes, C only. So it is not necessarily equal, right? Because it's not necessarily equal because it can be different ranges. Right. 35. Which of the following type of software testing is used to check that the new changes have not broken the previously work, right? So that is called regression testing. Regression testing. Change එකක් කරාම අපි පරණ test cases, major test cases ටික run කරලා බලනවා. මොකද මේ අපි කරපු change එක විතරක් test කරලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. overall test කරනවා. Related components ටික. So that is called regression testing. So this is very, very important, and this is what we want to automate also, because we need to do this often. Regression testings. Okay. Right. B. 36. Which of the following is not considered as benefit of test-driven development? TDD. Test-driven means we focus more on testing. First we write tests and then we write the code. Right? Not considered as benefit, right? Code coverage. So code coverage is a benefit. Code coverage means our testing cover a lot of code. So the ideally we can go for 100% code coverage. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයාගේ test cases වලින් මුළු code එක ඔක්කොම cover කරලා දෙයි. If path, else path ඔක්කොම test කරලා දෙයි. Right? Code coverage is a benefit. Improved project management. Okay, ඒක ටිකක් debatable. Simplified debugging. Debugging ඒකත් ටිකක් debatable. Development of test suites for regression testings. Yes, we can develop test suite for regression testing. Because regression testing is when you do a change, you again run your test. Right? So these test cases can be automated. Support for system documentation. Support for system. Maybe, right? ඒක නම් හරියට sure නැහැ. හරි? This is not a standard knowledge. Okay, this is very specific thing they are asked. They are asking. I don't know. I'm not very sure about that, to be very honest. Okay, what is the answer? B. Improved project management. ඔව් ඉතින් ඒකත් එක පැත්තේ ඇත්ත ඉතින් නේද project management වලට මේක ඉච්චර ලොකුවට සම්බන්ධ නැහැ නේද? Right. Maybe simplified debugging because you can identify the exact unit that failed. Right. This is correct. Maybe you can use these tests as part of the documentation. Right. Maybe. Yeah. But I think the project management and test-driven development has very little connection. Right. I think it's fair. Okay. 37. Consider the following statement regarding unit testing. There are 3 preliminary stages in unit testing. අන්න ඔය තමයි මම කාලකන්ණි ප්‍රශ්නේ කියන්නේ. හරි. ඒ කියන්නේ පොතේ තියෙනවා නම් 3යි කියලා 3යි. අර පන්සිල් කීය පන්සිල් වගේ තමයි. පන්සිල් අටසිල් කීයක් තියෙනවද? ලංකාවේ දිස්ත්‍රික්ක කීයක් තියෙනවද? Users testing. Maybe alpha betaද? මොකද ඔය වෙනස් වෙනවා තැනින් තැන. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් තියෙන alpha testing, beta testing කියලා නේද? බලමු මේක තියමු. User testing is unnecessary if the release testing has been conducted. No, there's no such thing. User testing you need to do. Beta testing, I can know alpha beta tamaya. Beta testing involves users of the software work with development team to test the software in the developer side. Not at the developer side, right? So usually we give it to the users, right? And also beta testing is pretty much done by end users. Alpha testing, bit of mixture, but I think beta testing must be more by users only. ඔක ඔයාගේ නෝට් එකේ තිබුණාද? අපි ගිය සතියේද කොහෙද නොක් කරේ? කලින් සතියේ. Alpha. Right. Type of හරිනේ the testing stages තුනයි. Alpha, beta, acceptance. නෝට් එක කරනු තුනයි. ඒ කියන්නේ මේක හරි. 3 stages හරියන්න ඕන. beta testing ගැන බලමු. Alpha testing. Users of the software work with development team. You can see users of the software work with development team. That is both. Beta, release of the software is made available to the users to allow them to experiment and use the thing. So that means release of the software is made available to the users to allow them to experiment and to create problems that they discover with the developers. ඒ කියන්නේ developers ලාට brace කරනවා විතරයි. developers ලා involve වෙන්නේ නැහැ beta testing වලදී. මේ note එකේ විදියට නම් හරි. Acceptance testing obviously 100% done by them. ඒතකොට අපි කොයි එකද ගන්නෙ දැන්? Work with the development team කියලා තියෙනවා. ඒක ටිකක් debatable හැබැයි. I'll go for A only. සමහරවිට මේක ගන්නත් පුළුවන් මොකද වචන එච්චර ෂුවර් නැහැ. හරි. Yes. Beta testing, pretty much end users doing it. Okay, end users doing it, but still it is not the final release for user acceptance tests. 38. Consider the following statement regarding software refactoring, that is restructuring, modification to make it better. Refactoring is the process of making improvements to the program to slow down degradation. Yes, it slow down the degradation or it make it improved. Refactoring of the program occur only in the evolution phase of the system. No, it can be done at any time. In agile development, at any time when you see there's a possibility of improvement, you do it. අලුත් විදියට නම් මේක හරි. sorry මේක වැරදි. only in evolution කියන එක වැරදි. හැබැයි පරණ විදියට හිතුවොත් මේක හරි. New functionalities will be added to the system during the process of refactoring. No, refactoring is not adding new functionalities. Refactoring is improving the existing functionalities. I'll go for A. මම දන්න examiner B ගනීද කියලා. Yes, A. හරි. So refactoring is a continuous thing. That is called continuous improvement. So agile developers වල කියන්නේ improve කරන්න තැනක් දැක්කොත් ඔයාගේ functionality එක නොවෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේක ඔයාගේ code එක නෙමෙයි, team එකේ code එක. කාගේ code එක නම් තමයි improvement එකක් කරලා තිබුණොත් කරලා යන්න. හරි කරලා යන්න. ඒකට අවසර ගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ කාගෙන්වත්. ඒකට තමයි අපි talented self motivated software developers ලා ගන්නෙ. වැරද්දක් දැක්කොත් හදලා යන්න. improvement එකක් කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් කරලා යන්න. ඒක තමයි අපි agile වල තියෙන attitude එක අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. හරි ඒක මගේ වැඩක් නෙමෙයි. ඒව නැහැ. Right, 39. Which of the following statement not true regarding software maintenance? Software maintenance is general process of changing the system before it has been delivered. No, that is not maintenance. Maintenance is necessary when the system requirement changes in response to organizational or business changes. In a way, yes, right? So it's also maintenance, right? Maintenance does not normally involve major changes to the system's architecture. That should be the case. That should be the case, but these are not like Bible වගේ දේව වාක්‍ය නෙමෙයි. That should be the but does not normally කියලා තියෙනවා නේද? සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ආකිටෙක්චර් එක ලොකු වෙනස්කම් කරන්න අමාරු. හරි. අපි කමු normally කියලාත් එයා කියලා තියෙනවද ඕක කියලා. Okay. Fixing bugs and addressing vulnerabilities are important aspect of software maintenance. Yes, fixing bugs, addressing vulnerabilities. It is usually more expensive to implement the features during the maintenance than add the same features to the system during the yes, obviously. Right? So after the releases and everything, doing changes is difficult, right? Costly. So I'll go for A. I'll go for A. Yes, A. 40. Which of the following is not considered as components of a legacy system? Legacy system. මතක නේද hardware, software, business process පරණ ඒවා ඔක්කොම legacy තමයි. Right? System hardware, yes. Application software, business process, yes. Application software, maybe design models are also design models නම් ඕනේද? not අහන්නේ කය තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. application software, design models. Maybe design models are also legacy. මේ දෙකෙන් දැන් කොයි එකද ගන්න එහෙම මෙයාත් ටිකක් සැකයි යා. But definitely not A, not C. අනේ මන්ද ඔය තුනේ එකක් තමයි වෙන්න ඕන මම එකක් ගහන්නම් ඉතින් කොම්පෝනන්ට් එකක් කියන්නේ නේද? කොම්පෝනන්ට් එකක් වෙන්න බෑනේ ඇප්ලිකේෂන් software එක නේද? එයා ලොකු එක්කෙනෙක්නේ. I'll go for B. උත්තරයක් ඕනන්දයි ගෙව්වේ. ඔකේ AC නම් වෙන්න බෑ. D අරන් තියෙන්නේ. Design models. ඒ කියන්නේ design කෑල්ල ඕනේ නැහැ කියලා තමයි අරන් තියෙන්නේ. හරි? මේ මම හිතන application software එක කියන්නේ software එක කියන එකයි නේද? හරි? Software එක. Yes, I think it's fair, right? Design models. Yeah, that's it. Right? So it's not very difficult, but at the same time, some amount of fussy questions are there. That is just to control you getting everyone getting A's. Okay. Right. අපි after the break අපි තව SC එකක් ගන්නවා. මොකද අපිට SC එක ඉවර කරාම අපිට I think I have assigned you another class Monday. No, not Monday, right? Right. I will assign. Yeah, you had a class yesterday. Today I will assign another class Tuesday also. ඊළඟට අපිට ඊළඟ Saturday තියෙනවා. එතකොට අපිට පුළුවන් එක එක දවසට එක එක සබ්ජෙක්ට් ඉවර කරගෙන යන්න බෑ. නැත්නම් ඔක්කොම කලවම් කරාම එකක්වත් කරගන්න බැරි වෙනවා. හරි. So maybe Tuesday we can have web. Okay, web. So that we can concentrate today more on SC. Maybe I want to do two papers. Right. So we'll do another paper and finish. Okay. එතකොට ඔයාලට touch එකේ ඉන්නව ටක් ගාලා කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right. So we'll take a small break. After the break, we'll do 2022 paper. Okay. Right. So we'll move on to 2022 paper. Right. Again, we'll quickly do. Now we can do it faster. First, read how many answers are correct. One or many. Because every year it can be changed. Right. One or more correct answers. So that means definitely time consuming and more. Right. That means you need to do it faster. Otherwise, you will not be able to cover all questions. The moment you see multiple answers are possible, you need to do it faster. Okay? Right, because you need to look at all the answers, right? But just by checking the correct answer, you can't stop it. That is hell a lot of work you need to do. Which of the following statement these are the best? Best are the best. Sorry, statements best describes the term software engineering. Right, software engineering. The process of creating computer software programs. Process of creating computer software programs. Creating computer software programs. Correct, right? Process of creating computer software. I'll go for that. Systematic approach to software production that considers practical cost, schedule, and dependability issues. So that is even better. Systematic approach uh, to software production that considers practical cost, schedule, and dependability. Okay, හොඳ මුත්තට බලමු එහෙනම් අපි multiple answers තියෙනවා. The methodological process of creating software without single error. No, there's nothing called that, right? එහෙම ඉතින් software දාන්න බෑ. The process of studying the application of computer algorithms to develop better software. මං හිතන්නේ මේ අර ඔයාගේ පොතේ තියෙන definition ම තමයි මෙයා හොයන්නේ. ඒකයි මේ වෙන වෙන කතන්දර දෙන්නේ. හරි? මතක නේද? ඔයාලට definition දෙකක් දීලා තිබුණා. The process of studying the application of computer algorithms to develop better software. එහෙම එකක් පොතේ නම් තියුන්නේ නැහැ. An engineering discipline that is concerned with theories, methods, and tools for professional software development. ඒකත් හරි මං හිතන්නේ මේ පොතේ definition එකයි හොයන්නේ. හරි ඔයාගේ note එකේ තියෙච්ච definition එක බලන්න. මතක නැහැ හරියටම topic 1 වලම තිබුණ definition දෙකක් දීලා ඕක තමයි හොයන්නේ. Right. One of the definition. Designing, building, maintaining large software systems. That is one definition. In definition use of systematic engineering approach in all stages of software development and project management to develop high quality, economical software appropriate tools. Software and appropriate tools. Another one, software engineering is concerned with the theories, methods, tools for developing, managing, and evolving software products. Practical application of scientific knowledge in the design and construction of computer programs and the associated documentation required to develop, operate, and maintain them. දැන් ඔන්න ඔය ටික අරගෙන අනිත් ටික අයින් කරන්න වෙනවා. මේකයිලා මම කර පොතේ ගුරාලා හොයන පේපර් එකක් ක්වෙස්චන් එකක් තමයි මේක. පළවෙනි ක්වෙස්චන් එකේම ටිකක් පේපර් එක මඤ්ඤම් වගේ තේරෙනවා. හරි? පරණ මේ පරණ බමුණු පේපර් එකක් වගේ තමයි පේන්නේ. හරි. දැන් බලමු ආයෙමත් අර ඩෙෆිනිෂන් වලට ළඟින් යන ටික. Process of creating computer software program is, I think, that is not too much. That is not good enough. Okay. Systematic approach to software production that considers practical cost schedule, I think that is okay. Our definition එක ගියා. Methodological process of creating software without single error is wrong because there's nothing called single error. Process of studying the application of computer algorithms and develop better software. Right. Studying the algorithms and develop better software. Hari wage. Engineering discipline that is concerned with theories and methods and tools for professional software development. එහෙම එකකුත් අර තියෙන්නේ අන්තිම එකේද කොහෙද? Right. Methods and tools, theories එහෙම කියලා තියෙනවා නේද? අපෝ තවත් තියෙනවානේ. බුදු අම්මෝ. මෙච්චර definition තියෙදි කොහොමද හොයන්නේ දැන්? ඒක නම් මහා පළවෙනි ප්‍රශ්නේම දීලා තියෙන එපා වෙන්න. මට නම් තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ ඒක උත්තරය ගන්න. හරි? What is the answer? Right. Examiner has taken B and E. B අරගෙන තියෙනවා යා. E තරම් තියෙනවා. මේක අරන් නැහැ නේ. මෙහෙමයිද මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට උත්තර හොයනවා කියන්නේ නිකන් අර තෙල්ලිපි කියනවා වැඩක් නෙදේ. ඒ කියන්නේ එක්සැමින් එකේ හිතේ බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන උත්තරේ ඔයා දෙන්න ඕන. හරි. මොකද මේක ඇවිල්ලා එහෙම නැතුව software engineer කෙනෙක් නෙමෙයි මේ බිල් ගේට් ආවත් මාක් සකබර්ග් ආවත් මේකට උත්තර දෙන්නේ නැහැ. හරි. මේකට ෆුල් මාක්ස් ගන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද ඒගොල්ලන්ට මේ හිත කියවන්න බෑ, නෝට් කියවන්න බෑ. Right. So anyway, it's a very unfair question, first one. Okay. Right. So let's see second one. Paper එක දැක්කම පේනව නේද? සමහරවිට වෙන examiner කෙනෙක් අද paper එකක් එන්න පුළුවන්. Which of the below statement is are considered ethical principles that the software engineers should adhere to the software development? So this should be a little bit easier. Consider the broader impact of their work on society and strive to create software solutions that promote the public good. That is good. That is ethical, right? Software develop කරන සමාජයට යහපතක් වෙන දේවල්. හරි? Shall not obtain proper consent or legal authorization from the users to collect or access personal data. That is bad. So you collect personal data without consent or authorization. So that is bad. That is not ethical. Accept all the work assigned to them without concentrating on their competency level to expedite software development. No, that is bad. So that is worst thing project manager can do. That means project manager accept everything knowing that the team can't do it. Of course, if the team can't do it, why do you commit to those deadlines? So that is one of the very unethical things some project managers do, right? Stupid people do. So that is definitely no. Respect the client's confidentiality. Good. Only formal confidentiality agreement has been signed. No, that is means නීතියට බය කරනවා. That means respect the client's confidentiality. Only agreement is signed. You can sign කරන්න නැත්නම් ඕන දෙයක් කරන්න බෑ. So that is terrible, right? That means you are not ethical person. Be aware of the local laws in using patents and copyrights to ensure that the intellectual properties of both the employees and clients are protected. So that is good. That is good, right? So that is not a difficult question, right? A and E. Yes. Consider the following statement. Identify the correct statements from the above that differentiate software project from other projects. So that should be easy. Well, easy when on. In a software project, the environment in which software operates may change regularly, yes, compared to the other projects, making it harder to meet the user requirements. Yes. So in software project, the user requirements frequently change, unlike you building a building bridge or something. I will go for that. Software projects are less complex. I don't agree with that compared to other projects as those can be done without specialized knowledge or skills. Definitely no. Software projects can be tested exhaustively, no, and hence ensure the quality, reliability, and functionality of the software is easy to know. Exhaustive testing is almost impossible in complex conceptual products. I'll go for A. Yes, A. දැන් අර මේ ක්වෙස්චන් එකේ මානසිකව වැටෙන්න එපා. ඉතින් හරි දැක්කද ඊළඟ ප්‍රශ්න දෙක ලේසියි ආ. මම මානසිකව වටන්නක් දානවා ඔයගේ ක්වෙස්චන් එකක්. ඒතකොට ඔයාගේ දරා ගැනීම ශක්තිය හොඳට බලන්න. Right. The failure curves for software represent that should be easy. Complexity of the software development failure curve for software represents complexity of the software development process. No, right? That has nothing to do with the complexity of the software development process. Efficiency of the software over time. Efficiency of the software over time. No, right? Efficiency එක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Software frequency of software failures throughout the software life cycle. Yes. ඒක තමයි අපි යන්නේ නේ. කොහොම ගිහලා කොහොම අඩු වෙනවා. නැත්නම් කොහොම ගිහලා කොහොම ටික ටික ආයෙ වැඩි වෙනවා. Ideal, practical. The time required to fix, no, that is nothing to do with the software development failure curve. Software failure curve. The cost of software maintenance over the time due to software failures. In a way, yes, right? So this is failure. High failure means high cost. හැබැයි cost එකම නෙමෙයි නේද? Cost of software නෑ. එහෙම කියන්නත් බෑ. විතර cost එක අඩු වෙන්නේ නෑනේ. No, I'll not go for that. I'll only use C. I'll only go for C because cost එක එන්නේ කොහොමද වැඩි වෙනවා. කල් යන යන. I'll go for C. Yes, C. 5. Software process model is an abstract representation of the process. Yes, දැන් අපිට පේන repeating questions. පුළුවන් අවුරුදු 5ක හරි pass papers කරන්න. Software engineering syllabus එක ලොකුවට වෙනස් වෙලා නැහැ හරි. Guide the software development team to build the product. Yes, right. It guide, sort of a guide, right? Guide, because it uses the process. I'll go for that. Provide more structured approach to organize the activities in the software process. Yes, it's organize the activities, right? It organize the activities. You do this, you do that, and so on. That is what process is. How do we do the activities? Illustrates how different people interact and involve with various activities in the model. Means to interact with the So that is bit of a doubt. It's not a direct answer for me. Always follow a plan-driven approach. No, now agile is also process model, but there we don't follow agile plan-driven. I'll go for ABC. Yes, ABC. Which of the above statements is correct regarding incremental development? That is incrementally developed. Okay. Each increment must deliver fully functional software product. Fully functional software product. No, right? Each increment include another feature, one or two features, not fully functional software. Fully functional means entire thing is functional. No, right? Each increment builds upon the previous increment, correct? Adding new features, so yes. Each increment requires producing extensive documentation illustrating the implementation. So in incremental development, do we need extensive documentation? In agile approach, no. So therefore I will say no. I'll only go for B. I'll go for B. Yes, B. 7. Which of the following needs are correct regarding software prototyping? Right. So remember throwaway prototyping, evolutionary prototyping. Software prototyping can be used in system design process to explore different software solutions and UI designs. Yes. Sometimes software prototypes may result in creating suboptimal solutions due to expediting building prototype, expediting building prototypes. What is මේ suboptimal solutions? ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට ඕනට වැඩිය over optimized solutions එන්න පුළුවන්. I think that is okay, correct, because so prototype is not the real product, right? But in reality, sometimes your solution that you develop in prototyping may not be practical in reality with real development. So therefore, your prototype can be over optimal or suboptimal. I don't know what is the exact meaning of suboptimal. I hope suboptimal means optimal, above the optimal. Right? පොඩ්ඩක් ඉංග්‍රීසි වචනේ මම පොඩ්ඩක් සර්ච් කරනවා. මට එකපාරට මතක නැහැ. Suboptimal කියන්නේ means not the best possible. Less than ideal. වෙනස් අගයක් තියෙන වෙන තේරුමක් තියෙන්නේ. කියන්නේ හොඳම solution එක නොවේ කියලා කියන්නේ. හැබැයි ඒක වෙන්නත් පුළුවන් prototype වලට කියනවා. Sometimes software prototype may result in creating suboptimal solutions. That means prototype results in creating suboptimal solutions. ඒක නම් ෂුවර් නෑ. හරි ඒ prototype වලට ගියහන්දා හොඳ නැති ඒවා හදනවාද කියලා. Because prototypes are used for evolution, right? It's like evaluate. Right. Anyway, let's keep that open. Developers should always produce documentation when producing software prototype. No, I don't think so, right? Software prototypes can only be used in plan-driven development. No, we can use prototyping in agile development. Actually, we mostly use prototyping in agile development. Software prototyping is an activity that must be carried out in a software process. Must be carried out. දැන් මේ වැඩේ තියෙන මේ ඉංග්‍රීසි වචන වල තමයි මේ උඩපටේ තියෙන්නේ. Is an activity that must be carried out. එහෙනම් අනිවාර්යෙන් කරන්න ඕන කියලා ඒකුත් නැහැ. හරි. මම මේක ගන්නෑ මොකද නිකන් හරියට නිකන් අනිවාර්යෙන් කරන්න ඕන වගේ. But it's a good practice. Anyway, it's extreme හරියට. ඒ කියන්නේ අන්තවාදී කතාවක් වගේ නේ. I'll go for A. I don't know. I will go for A. Right. Examiner has taken A. That means I get half a mark. Examiner has taken B also. Right. Now, I can question mark them. Sometimes software prototypes may result in creating suboptimal solutions. Maybe just we create a prototype and then we commit to the prototype for that design without looking at the alternative. But in a way, prototyping is to explore different solutions. So, right. So therefore, this is not a very good answer for me. That means when you misuse prototyping, if you misuse prototyping, yes, you will end up in suboptimal solutions. Yeah, many examiner has taken B also. Right, 8. Identify the best software process model that can be used in above scenario. එකට එකක් වෙන වෙනම හොයන්න ඕන. The main objective is to reduce the development time and effort by using well-established components. Component-based software development, right? Reuse base. දැන්ට මගේ උත්තරේ බොහෝ දුරට D වෙලා ඉවරයි. The technology stack and development tools are well known and stable. So then we can go for waterfall. Yes, waterfall. The requirements are not fully defined or may evolve over the time, iterative, incremental. Definitely D. Definitely D. Consider the following statements. Identify the correct statements from the above regarding the process improvements in software engineering. Process improvements is the process of improving the quality of user requirements and software design. No, that is not process improvement. Process maturity and agile approaches are two approaches to process improvements and change. Agile approach use different type of process improvement, but agile approach is also emphasized on process improvement. It's not very direct answer, but maturity is used in conventional development. Agile uses slightly different approach, right? More continuous improvement. එනියා හරිත් වගේ හැබැයි වචන නම් හොඳ නැහැ. Process analysis assesses the current process to identify weaknesses and bottlenecks. In a way, yes, right? We analyze to find the bottlenecks and weaknesses. Do we have BC? Yes, B and C is there. B only තියෙනවා හැබැයි හැබැයි C only නෑ හොඳ වෙලාවට C only නැති හන්ද මම B එක එකතු කරපු එක තමයි ගන්නෙ because this is pretty comfortable with this and only C is not there so therefore I'll go for B and C. 9 I will go for E. Yes. Which of the following is are considered core principles of agile development? මොන දැන් ටිකක් ලේසි වෙත්තේ. Emphasizing on the comprehensive documentation through no. Following a strict plan without room for change, no. Encouraging customer collaboration and frequent feedback, yes. Prioritizing process adherence over delivering working software, no. So our priority is delivering working software, not process adherence. Minimizing interactions between developers and stakeholders, no. We want a good interaction. So the answer I will go for C. Yes, C. Which of the following is are correct regarding Scrum roles, events, and artifacts? Scrum retrospective is an artifact. No, retrospective is an event. Scrum team modifies the sprint backlog throughout the sprint. No, sprint backlog is not going to be changed throughout the sprint. Product backlog can change. Okay. Because sprint backlog must be relatively stable because that is for the next 3 weeks work. I'll say no. Sprint is a time box development iteration that is 8 to 16 weeks long. No, sprint can't be 16 weeks long, right? It's about 4 to 5 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. At the initial phase of Scrum, it completes the requirement documentation and assess the lessons learned from the project to start the project. Right? Complete the requirement document, initial phase, and assess the lessons learned from the project to start the project from the maybe previous process, previous project, right? මේක මුකුත් උත්තර නැත්තම් මම මේක ගන්නවා. The product owner is the person who is responsible for requirements and maximizing the return. That is definitely yes. Right? Definitely yes. D ගන්නවද? At the initial phase, it completes the requirement documentation and assess the lessons learned. Documentation complete කරනවා කියලා දෙයක් නෑ agile වල. Maybe examiner will take D, but I will go for E. risk එකක් ගන්නවා නම් මට මේකට ගහන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද ගියොත් 0.25යි ආවොත් භාගයයි. ගැම්බල් කරන කෙනෙක් විදියට නම් මම මේකට ගහනවා. ගැම්බල් කරන්නේ නැති කෙනෙක් විදියට නම් මම මේක E වල ඉන්නවා. මම ගැම්බල් කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ මෙතන. එක්සෑම් එක නෙමෙයි. හන්දට එක්සෑම් එක සමහරට මම මේකට ගහන්නත් පුළුවන් D වලට. But I will stay with E. Okay, stay with E. D නෙමෙයි අරන් තියෙන්නේ මොකද්ද? හොඳට මම E වලට ගියා D වලට ගියාවේ නැත්තේ. Examiner අරන් තියෙනවා B. What is that? Anyway, examiner has not taken this. Okay. Scrum team modifies the sprint backlog throughout the sprint. හරි. ඕක කොහොම කතාවොත් හැබැයි ආවේ නෝට් එකේ තියෙනවා. හරි ස්ප්‍රින්ට් එකේ මැද වුණත් වෙනස් කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා විශේෂයෙන්ම එක්ස්ට්‍රීම් ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑමින් වල. හරි ඔය කතාව ආවේ නෝට් එකේ තිබුණා මම දැක්කා. හරි. හරි. ඒ කියන්නේ ෆ්‍රීස් කරන්නේ නැහැ කියලා ස්ප්‍රින්ට් එකේ ඇතුලේ ඒවා පවා. I saw it somewhere in your software engineering note. Anyway, එක පොඩක් බලන්න පොඩ්ඩක් මට මතක වෙනවම මේ agile ඒක වෙනස් කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා ඔයාගේ නෝට් එකේ තියෙනවා. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඔක වෙනස් කරන්නේ නැහැ. හරි. මොකද මේ සති තුනට වෙනස් කරන්න ගියාම වැඩ කරන්න බෑනේ. Right. Anyway, it's a debatable answer. Right. Next one. Extreme programming. It is a project management framework. Yeah, it's a project in a way එහෙම කියන්න බැරිත් නෑ නේද? But හැබැයි it's agile is the project management framework. Extreme is a process. Right. I think extreme is Scrum-based extreme are processes. Agile is the way of project management. I'll say no. Discourage the use of automated testing. No. Encourage. Practices heavy process documentation. No. Emphasizes continuous integration. Yes. May release new versions several times per day. Several times per day nan වෙන්න බෑ. Right. මම හිතන්නේ several times per day versions release කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. Extreme programming වල. I'll go for D. Uh, several times a day release කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා තමයි අරන් තියෙන්නේ. ඒකනේ extreme programming කියන්නේ නේද? මම දන්නේ නැහැ. practically ඒව කරන්නේ නැහැ. අපි chat GPT එකක් දාලා බලමුද? ඔකේ කොහේ හරි පොතක තියෙන දේ එහෙම කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. හරි. එහෙම ඉතින් practically නම් මේ දවසකට release දෙක තුන දෙන්න බෑ. multiple answers possible නැත්නම් එකක් දෙන්න. C D දෙයක් තරම් තියෙන හැබැයිනේ. ඔව් multiple time නම් දෙන්න බෑ. ඒක මම හිතන්නේ internal release ගැන කතා කරන්නේ නේද? හරි. May not be customer releases, maybe internal releases. Okay. එහෙම දුන්නොත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගන්නා. හරි. customer release නෙමෙයි මම හිතන්නේ ගන්න internal release. Because it's not practical to give customer release several times a day, right? Several times per day. Maybe internal releases. Okay. Right. 13. Consider the following use case diagram drawn in UML notation. Which of the following needs are correct regarding the above diagram? Right? Which of the following are correct? So this is extends, this is include, this is include. Okay? මොකද include කියලා දන්නේ අතුරු එළියට යනවා. extend කියලා දන්නේ ඒ පැත්තට එනවා. ප්‍රධාන use case එක පැත්තට එනවා. The rectangle denotes the alternative associations and their interactions. What is that? No, the rectangle is basically your scope. Right? Your scope. So, yeah, it should be scope. So I say no. පිටු දෙකක තියෙන පිස්සුවද? Customer is the descendant, child, and the NRFC customer is the ancestor. No other way, right? Customer is not the child. NRFC customer is the child. No. There are 6 use cases in the diagram. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anyway, these are also use cases. And these are also use cases. I'll say yes. NRFC customer associate with open account, deposit funds, and withdraw funds use cases. Open account, deposit funds, withdraw funds. This is NRFC user. Open account, deposit funds, withdraw funds. Yes, because this is a special case of this. So this user can do whatever customer can do. And plus, NRFC customer can do convert currency also. But මේ තුන හරි. මේ තුනේ වැරද්දක් නැහැ. Okay. මේ කියන කතාවේ වැරද්දක් නැහැ. But it is not complete answer also because there's one more use case also. But මේ කියපු එක වැරදි කියන්නත් බෑ. A denotes an include relationship. A denotes an include relationship. No, A denotes extends. එතනින් වැරදි. I'll go for C and D. 13 C and D. Yes, C and D. 14. User stories are comprehensive, detailed, and formal. No, formal naya. Comprehensive naya user stories. Features of functionalities from end user's perspective. Right? Detail නෑ නේද කෙටියෙන් ලියන්නේ. Formal උත් නෑනේ informal නේ අපි. No, I will not go for that. Scenarios and user stories. are formulated based on real life situations to capture and communicate requirement and yes. Scenarios and user stories are documented in the form of narrative text to capture and convey requirements and functionalities. Oh, your narrative. කතන්දරයක් වගේ තමයි ලියන්නේ. I'll go for A false, other two are true. I'll go for D. Yes, D. 15. Identify the non-functional requirement from the below list of requirements. The multiple answers තියෙනවා ටිකක් සකල්ලා. System should support multiple users roles with varying access privileges. Multiple roles with varying access privileges. ඒක ටිකක් security වගේ හැබැයි මේක functionality එකක් නේද? You can play these roles, right? බලමු මේක තියමු ටිකක් හැබැයි security වලට බරයි. The system shall generate monthly invoices. So that can't be, right? That is functionality. The system shall be scalable to handle, that is non-functional requirement, right? Performance. System shall comply with industry-specific security standards, like that's non-functional requirement. System should be compatible with Windows, Mac, Linux operating systems. That is also non-functional requirement for me. Okay. මෙයා ටිකක් security නාට මේ ඇතුලේ කරන විදියක් ගැන කියන්නේ. හරි. අපි login කියන එකත් ගන්න functionality එකක් කියලා. හැබැයි login is related to security, but we take login as a functionality. So therefore, this is also like this is how you are supposed to implement the functionality type thing. So therefore, I will not go for A. I don't know if the examiner will take it, but I will go for C, D, and E. C, D, and E. Oh, examiner has not taken E. System should be compatible with Windows. ඒක functionality එකක් නෙමෙයිද? Sorry, ඒක non-functional නෙමෙයිද? ඒක functionality එකක් නෙමෙයිද නේද? Anyway, ඒක ටිකක් debatable lah. ඒක ටිකක් debatable. Right. Anyway, I get about half of the marks only. Okay. ඒක නම් කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. ඒක ටිකක් debatable. Which of the following personals is considered project stakeholders? Project manager, yes. Project sponsor, yes. Business competitors are stakeholders. Business analyst, yes. Unrelated business units, unrelated one, everything other than me. Oh, see, අරගෙනත් නැත. Competitors ලා ගන්න නැත්තේ. So usually competitors are stakeholders. ඔයාගේ note වලත් මම දැක්ක තියෙනවා තැන් තැන්වල. මම software engineering note එකේ නා. If anyone is interested, concerned, it must be stakeholder, right? මෙතන business කියලා තියෙනවා. අන්න යත් ඉවරයිද? වෙන browsers නෑ මම ගාව. තව එකක් තියෙනවා. ChatGPT කියන්නේ ABD කියලා. ABD කියලා. ABD. ChatGPT හැබැයි කියන්නේ නැහැ C ගන්න කියලා නේද? එහෙනම් business competitors ලා ගන්න එපා. හොඳේ? Because yeah, you better not take business competitors. But in general, sometimes we take competitors also. Maybe because this is a project, right? I don't know. Yeah, so don't take business competitors, right? Anyway, this is not related, right? This is not related. Right? Why not business competitors? That I also don't know. I also feel like business competitors are interested about your project, but your examiner says no, ChatGPT says no. ඒ දෙනකද අහන්න ඕන. ඒ දෙනක තමයි අහන්න මේ වගේ දේවල් වලට මේ සමහර දේවල් වලට හැමතිස්සෙම ඇයි කියලා අහන්න බෑ අපිට because those are opinionated. Right? Opinionated answers are there. So එතකොට ඉතින් කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. අපි ඒක පිළි අරගෙන ඉන්න ඕන. හරි? ඔයාට එක්සෑම් පේපර් එකක් හදන්න පුළුවන් දවසට ඔයාට පුළුවන් එතකොට ඔයාගේ ඔපිනියන් එක මේව කරගන්න. හරි? ජීවිතේම තමයි. හරි? මේවා නිකන් ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑමින් ඩේටාබේස් SQL queries වගේ නම් අපිට අහන්න පුළුවන් ඇයි කියලා. මේ වගේ දේවල් සමහරලාට උත්තරේ තමයි ඉතින් ඒ බහුතරේ පිළිගන්නවා නම් නේ. දැන් උදා රජයත් එහෙමනේ දාණ්ඩුව කරන දේවල් වලට අපිට ඇයි කියලා අහන්න බෑනේ. ඇයි කියලා ඒවත් කියයිද බහුතරේ අපිට කැමති. බහුතරේ කැමති නම් අපි කරනවා. අන්න ඒ වගේ තමයි මේකත්. හරි? සමහර තැන්වල. මොකද මේ සමහර තැන් ෆෝමල් නොලෙජ් නෙමෙයි. right? Yes, you can question why. I can also question why, but sometimes we need to satisfy with that kind of a answer. Right? 70. So that is why sometimes it's debatable. මම ඒකයි වගේ තැන්වල debatable කියලා නවත්තන්නේ. මොකද මට තාවත් criticize කරන්න උවමනාවක් නැහැ. හරි. මට chat GPT criticize කරන්න ඕනෙත් නැහැ. ඔයාගේ lecturer exam paper එක හදපු lecturer professor නැත්තම් doctor criticize කරන්න ඕනෙත් නැහැ because people can have different opinions also. හැබැයි ඉතින් ගොඩාක් extreme වෙනකොට සමහරවිට මම කියනවා මේක නම් හරි ටිකක් too much කියලා. හරි? ඒ කියන්නේ too many debatable, but you can have maybe few debatable questions. But this paper is, I think, not bad in that sense, right? The use case diagrams in software engineering are used to depict use case diagrams. Dependencies of the internal structure and the organization of the software. No, that is not the purpose of use case diagrams. Dynamic behavior of a software system. Yeah, use cases are dynamic behaviors, right? I'd say yes. Sequence of steps in a specific use case. No, you don't show sequence of steps. Just what is the use case? Sequence steps are sequence diagrams. Dependencies among the functional and non-functional requirements. I don't think so, right? එච්චර දෙයක් කරන්න use case diagram එක. Roles that interact with the system and the functionalities provided by the system. That exactly I like that. Okay. I like E as a perfect sort of answer, but I think B is also because it's a dynamic. Some class diagrams, deployment diagrams, those are static. Dynamic are use case diagrams, state diagrams, sequence diagrams, activity diagrams, dynamic. We model the dynamic behavior, right? Of course, ER diagrams are not UML, but otherwise ER diagrams are also not dynamic, static. I'll go for B and E. Oh, B are නැහැ. Use case diagrams, dynamic ඒවා නෙමෙයිද? Use case එකක් and dynamic නේද? Make payment and blah blah blah. ChatGPT දාලා අහන්න ඕන. ChatGPT මගේ පැත්තට කතා කරයිද බලමු. ChatGPT මගේ පැත්තට කතා කරේ නැත්නම් ChatGPT වහලා දානවා මම දැන්. බලමු ChatGPT examine එක යයිද දන්නේ නැහැ. මම හිතන්නේ ChatGPT examine එක පැත්තටම ගනී වගේ නේ. බලමු. අන්න. යා ඉවරයිනේ කොහොමද නේ? අන්තිම එක නෑ ඉන්නවා බලමු. ක්ලෝස් කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැහනේ. ChatGPT ගත්තේ T විතරයිනේ. එයත් dynamic කියලා නම් ගත්තේ නැහැ. Right? So එන අපි එහෙම ගමු. Right? Right. So therefore we'll take it as E. Okay? Right. So ChatGPT also says it's just T. Dynamic එකක් නෙමෙයි කියලා කියන්නේ. හරි? හැබැයි ඉතින් මේක static උත් නෙමෙයි. නේද? Static උත් නෙමෙයි use case diagram වල තියෙනවා. chat GPT ආන්න ඕනේ මේක static ද dynamic ද කියලා. එතකොට chat GPT හිත වෙනවා. හරි. අහලා බලමුද? Is use case diagrams model static or dynamic behavior? එතකොට තියෙන use case diagram dynamic කියලා දැක්කද? මම යා කොටු කර ගන්න හැදුවේ. හරි. class diagram static හරිනේ. activity diagram sequence diagram ඔක්කොම dynamic. දැන් එතෙන්ද කියනවා දැන් ආයේ එතකොට අර වෙලාවෙ මොකද කිව්වේ? ඔබ දන්නවද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? ඔය question paper උ සමහරවිට Google ඉස්සරහා තියෙන්නේ. හරි. දැන් මේ question ගොඩක් කාට මේ වගේ question වෙන තැන්වල තියෙනවා. හරි. question ඔක්කොම ටික examiners හදනව නෙමෙයි. ඔය පොත්වල තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට පොත්වල තියෙන answers chat GPT දානවා. ඒතකොට chat GPT සමහරවිට එයාට මතකයි මේක. අර අපිට මතක තියෙන සමහර උත්තර. හරි. දැක්කද? හැබැයි ආව හිර කරාම මම මේක ස්ටැටික් කියන්නේ පිස්සෝලේ තියරම ඇහුවා මේක ස්ටැටික්ද ඩයිනමික් කියලා. එතකොට කියනවා ඩයිනමික් කියලා. මොකද එතකොට දැන් හිර වෙලා ඉන්නේ. හරි. ස්ටැටික් ඔය AI කියන එකත් it's a very interesting topic. හරි. AI කියන එක දැන් අපි හිතනවානේ හැමදෙස්සම රියැලිටි එකටමයි යන්නේ කියලා නෑ. රියැලිටි එකට යන්නේ නෑ. හරි. AI හරි පට්ට කපටි උත්තර දෙනවා සමහරවිට ඇඟ බේර ගන්න. හරි. ඇඟ බේර ගන්න. That is also part of the strategy. That is also part of the strategy. හරි. මොකද මේ වගේ තැනකදී බලාපොරොත්තු එයා හැමදෙස්සම කරන්නේ එයාගේ මතකයයි ඔක්කොම එකතු කරගෙන එයා කරන්නේ. හරි ගොඩක් අයට ඔයගේ මේ ක්වෙස්චන් එක සමහරට එක තැනක කොහේ හරි තියෙනක් පුළුවන්. හරි. ඒතකොට එයා උත්තරේ දන්නවා සමහරට. හරි. හරි. හැබැයි හිර කළා වට පස්සේ නම් කියනවා අරක ඩයිනමික් ස්ටැටික් නෙමෙයි. දැක්කද? හරි. Right. Next question. 18. The software requirement specification document SRS. හරි දැන් මේ කතා කරන්නේ agile නෙමෙයි normal development. Describe the design and no. This is requirement specification. Include both user and system requirements. Yes. Is not useful for system test engineers as they cannot use the document to derive requirement. No, that is wrong. So in system testing, people can get the requirements from this document. Outlines the user interactions design of a software system. No. Should be detailed and precise when separating separate companies developing the software through outsourcing. Yes. In conventional software development, yes, this is the, I told it's even a legal requirement. ඔක sign off කරනවා හරින. හරි. ඉස්සර විදියට sign off කරනවා. මොකද නැත්තම් ප්‍රශ්න ඇති වෙනවා. හරි. මේ හැබැයි පරණ කතන්දරයක්. පරණ විදිය අලුත් විදිය ඔක නෙමෙයි. මම කිව්වේ පරණ විදිය අලුත් විදිය. අලුත් විදිය ඇවිල්ලා ඔය විදිය කරන එක නෙමෙයි. හැබැයි software engineering එක කාට agile වෙනවා කියලා ඊට පස්සේ පරණ කතන්දරය තමයි කියන්නේ. Right. I'll go for B and E. Yes, B and E. Consider the following requirement validation checks and their proposed definitions: consistency, realism, verifiability. Which of the above requirement validation checks are defined correctly? වචන හරියට තියෙන්නේ කොහෙද? Consistently. Do any conflict exist among the requirements? Yes. Consistent. One is consistent with the other. Realism, that means realistic. Have all the functions required by the customer been included? I think that is not good enough. Verifiability, can I test it? Or have we document the requirement in a testable manner? Is it feasible to implement the requirements considering the available budget? No. I'll go for A only. A and B එකත් වෙන්න ඉඩ තියෙනවා. හරි? But I'll go for A only. Yes, A only. Realism කියන්නේ realistic ද කියන එක. එතකොට මේක වැරදියි. මට ෂුවර් නැති අnder B වෙන්න ඉඩ තියෙනවා but not. 20. Which of the following statement is correct regarding system modeling in software engineering? The main purpose of system modeling is to document user stories and scenarios. In a way, yes, right? But system modeling document the user stories. But because the thing is, we do system modeling for both analysis and design. If it is analysis, yes. If it is design, wrong. Right? System modeling design වලට කරොත් මේක වැරදි හැබැයි. Okay, so that is debatable. Estimation of the need for software documentation is benefit in the system modeling. Estimation of the need for software documentation is beneficial in system modeling. මම හිතන්නේ මේ system modeling කියන්නේ design වලට කියලා. හරි. මෙතනදී. The process in designing the system modeling and the process in designing the system models enhance the collaboration among the project stakeholders. I don't think that is the purpose of. But system models can be used for communication as well. They can be upset. Software verification techniques cannot be applied in stage of system modeling. We can. Cannot කියන්න බෑ නේද? අපිට models verify කරන්න පුළුවන්, review කරන්න පුළුවන්. No. System modeling is the process of creating diagrams to represent the structure and behavior of the software system. ඒක නම් හරි. ඒක නම් හරි. අනිත් ඒවත් මේ උඩ දේව වැරදිත් නෑ හැබැයි. But this is partially true. Elimination of the needs for software documentation. නෑ මේ කියන්නේ elimination of the need for software document කරන්න ඕනේ නෑ කියන modeling කරලා දෙන එක වැරදි. ඒක වැරදි. මේක sure නෑ. So then I will go for E. Okay? I'll go for E. E අරගෙන තිනවා. C අරන් තිනවා. අපි මේ debatable එක අරන්. Process in designing the system models enhance the collaboration among the project stakeholders. Maybe because we can use the model for verification, right? Communication, we can use models for help to help. I think that is fair. That is fair. Even use case diagrams, right? We can use to verify requirements. Yes. I think the answers are very reasonable. This one, C and E. Okay, C and E. හරි ඉතුරු ටික අපි තව question කීයක් තියෙනවද 40ක් තියෙනවනේ හරි ඉතුරු ටික අපි communication කරන දවසටම කරමු මොකද communication papers වල තියෙන්නේ question 10 20 20යි විතර තියෙන්නේ එතකොට අපි මේකත් කරලා ඉවර කරමු අපි papers දෙකයි කරන්නේ එතකොට තුන්වෙනි එක ඔයගොල්ලන් තනියෙන් කරන්න පුළුවන් තුන්වෙනි නෙමෙයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ papers පහක් විතර කර ගන්නවා හරි but if you have any specific question for me to discuss let me know the year and question number I can discuss okay right so we stop at this point so I'll try to add another extra class for possibly Tuesday or Wednesday because I have added one more extra class that is their last class for semester 4 this Monday. So then I will try to add an extra class for Tuesday or Wednesday. Right? Then possibly another one Friday. තව එකක් Friday දානවා. ඒතකොට ලබන සතියේ මම class දෙකක් දානවා. ඊළඟට අපිට Saturday weekend එකෙත් class දෙකක් කරන්න පුළුවන්. හරි weekend එකතොට එතනදී බොහෝ දුරට ඉවර කරගන්න තමයි හදන්නේ. මදි වුණොත් ඊළඟ සතියේ සවුන්දත් එකක් දානවා. ලබන weekend එක ඉවරෙද්දී ඉවර කරගන්නවා. හරි. right we stop at this point.